Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Saturday Smackdown. Absolutely. The second one of the year 2016, and today we do have Aizamk versus Mongo10. And as you can see from the length of this video, it was a pretty good series. Aizamk, definitely a very entertaining player to watch. One of my favourite players, and honestly just one of my favourite people in general. A very humble guy, a good friend of mine, and probably one of the big reasons that I kept making videos for my channel in the early days, back when I started out. So there is that. Aizamk is of course well known for his, well, firstly the UI that we're using, the thing that we use to see all of the information on stream, which we use to cast. That was made available by a mod, which was made by Aizamk, and that UI is an interesting story actually. It was a project of his that spanned several years. Or a couple of years, really. And honestly, you know, does now what we thought back then when we first, well, when he first started and we were playtesting the initial ones, what we thought was impossible. So, massive achievement, this UI, which honestly, without Smackdown, might not be here today. But getting a bit sidetracked, Aizamk is also, shall we say, not known just for his UI. No, Aizamk was known for something else long before his UI. And that would be his not-so-standard way of playing. He likes to march to the beat of his own drum, does his own thing his own way, and has his own funky strategies and build orders. And despite all of this, is still a top-level player. If you head on over to eso-community.net, you'll notice he is currently ranked in the top 10 for highest ELO rating. Of course, the ELO rating is hosted by jp. something or other, the Japanese community website, which is also down below. Aizamk very good at the game, and I do actually honestly think Aizamk has made some of the best Smackdowns that are on this channel, some of the most entertaining ones at least. You know, me and Zuta actually spoke about this, and we picked out a few that certainly were our favourites. And most of them, not all of them, but most of them contained Aizamk in them, and that was, you know, sort of a running trend that we only realised after we'd picked them all. The link is in the list. Sorry, the link is in below. The links to that list is, yeah, you can go and click down that in the description. Also in that description are timestamps to all of the matchups played in this video. You can use those to skip to any match containing perhaps civilizations you specifically want to watch. You can do that, though do be careful, as looking at those timestamps can ruin the outcome of the series if you plan to watch them all in order, as it does show how many games were played. Do be careful, there is that. And that is everything I need to say. Without further ado, enjoy the video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Saturday Smackdown. Absolutely. Today, the date is...
Oh, this is my job, and I'm not ready. I'm not prepared at all.
Don't worry. Fear not.
Saturday, January 16th.
January 16th. 2016. This is Smackdown number 2, I believe, of the year.
That's correct.
I wonder how many we can get in a row before one of us skips one or cannot make it. Something like that. But a good start, 2 in a row, and another good one to sort of kick the year off or follow up with. We do have in the south of the map, in the colour blue, Aizamk. Absolutely, one of the people I've known for the longest period of time on ESO, and I think I can get away with saying this. Certainly one of the more interesting players to watch sometimes as well. Has some very funky build orders, and is, you know, always and has been playing for a long time. Very, very strong player, and knows exactly what he's doing, and you know, his games can be very, very fun to watch. I think some of the better Smackdowns have been with Aizamk in them, and there's this one against Snow that stands out to me, if you remember that.
Oh man,
with their little
can't believe what I
bombards.
just... Oh yeah, that was a great game, actually. I just did the dumbest thing. I clicked on a deer, and then I pressed lock on selected, and then I was like, I looked away at my other screen to like read chat for a second, and then when I came back, I realized like I was just locked in on this random deer in the middle of the map. It was doing absolutely
not really going anywhere. Whoops.
No, he,
We'll click on Aizamk here. I'm going to follow his explorer around. Oh, he's coming up. He's going to be found by Bai Yufeng. No, he's going to swiftly get out of there. I want to avoid that guy. He's pretty buff. You don't want to get caught by the Chinese explorer. Certainly in hand combat, you will lose. You will lose in the early game. Looks like he's going to be laying down a trading post, though. About to grab his 200 wood total. Looks like he's got 2 villagers. Just going to gather that last bit up there, and then going to slam down a trading post is Aizamk. But, you know, I mentioned the game against Snow for a reason. I'm going to put it in the description of this video, because I do honestly think it's one of my favourite Smackdowns that I have casted. And
Yeah,
I would encourage you to check that one out. It's a 3-hour stream, but it is worth it, I guarantee. So I'll put that in there. Aizamk, one of my favorite players, and certainly a very, very great player to be watching today. So happy to see that. But up against Mongo10, both players rated as brigadiers, or close to, like lieutenant colonels. I think it was like 35-ish somewhere. So some high-caliber players here, and hopefully some good games. I believe you mentioned just before I started talking, for the benefit of the VOD, where you may or may not be in it, that these two players, you said they were having some good games earlier, and perhaps that will continue into Smackdown.
Yep, certainly hoping so. Aside from Aiza's kind of strange start, it looks like Mongo10 has been doing completely normal stuff, just to throw that in there. Sometimes people may wonder, especially if you're new to the stream, why we just talk about a bunch of random stuff for like the first 5 minutes. And that's because I think for especially veterans of the Age of Empires 3 scene like this, there's really nothing too strange going on in either player's face. And so perhaps the most interesting thing is to see what treasures players can collect. And so if you're wondering why, if you're new to the stream, you're wondering why we just tend to ramble on about strange stuff for extended periods of time at the start of stream. I'll just throw that out there.
Yeah, I must admit, that kind of rambly stuff does disappear in tournament games, but actually for Smackdown, I think it's this is a weekly thing.
Yep.
I think that's fun. I think one of the more interesting things to point out, look how close those musk deer are to Aizamk's base. Is the ZutaZuta box theorem must be going off the charts here. That is look at that box.
Very good.
It's a tiny box.
It's also on Siberia, which is a TAD map, which is even more a combination of impressive and luck, to be honest, because you can't control the TAD map starting deer very well. And so honestly, when they get into a position where they're killable like that, you should just straight out kill them. Make sure that they die right underneath the town center. Because look at this one, like, who's kind of wandering around to the back side of this house. That guy is never going to get underneath the town center. There's literally going to be no way to ever put him in a really good macro-y position. And as a result, like, he may just wander off to the edge of the map and not get gathered from. But yeah, anytime certainly you have the ability to get your villagers nice and close to your town center, certainly do so, especially on a TAD map where the hunts at the start of the game aren't super controllable. Yeah, definitely like that.
Absolutely. Those villages, as soon as they're created, can get to work, and it means you have to walk less far when you want to go to a different resource. Absolutely the right thing to be doing. But both players picking up some pretty beefy treasures there. Mongo 80 food, Aizamk picking up a similar 175 food, and then aside from that, a few wood treasures. I believe Mongo picking up a 40 wood, Aizamk picking up a 40 wood, very even there, and then some coin treasures, actually very even treasures, I must admit. I think Aizamk edging it slightly, and therefore does kind of win the age 1 with that 50 wood treasure there. But I think the thing to think about is this style of Russia. This is interesting. He's gone for a trading post in age 1, which is not often something Russia will do, and it's actually something Russia can struggle with. Russia often struggles to get that market and all of the upgrades, unless they're going to go up with 17 villages. But actually here to get both. I think the market was during transition, but look at his pop cap, 20 villages here. He's delaying his age up, and as a result of that, has stacked 2 shipments up so far. Perhaps he didn't send his age 1, but still, that's it's a very late age up for Russia.
Yeah, he did send distributivism just as the normal Russian standard, but certainly a slower-ish age up for him, definitely, and I think it's justifiable if you think about what Russia. Like the stylistic plays that they have against China, they've got really 2 options. One is to play all-out aggression and do some sort of very aggressive forward base, like way up here, and just try and deny Russia from ever aging up. Force him to send awkward shipments in age 2 just to deal with your pressure. Like things like 8 Canoe, 9 Quang Pikemen, maybe even 7 Step Rider, something like that. Something that just slows down their age up, doesn't allow them to send their crates, doesn't allow their progression to be as spot on as they would normally like, and win just kind of in a longer drawn out age 2, or maybe they get to age 3 but they've been severely compromised as a result. Or you can do what Ace has elected to do here, and just play a more laid-back style, send something like 700 wood early, and then potentially even just follow your opponent up. And even seeing the 700 coin, it looks like he's just going to be doing an FF of his own.
I think you're right. Like, he's got all the food for it. He's been gathering that during transition, had the extra villages for it, getting all that food. And, with that early trading post, it absolutely makes sense to have that Fortress Age agenda. 700 coin coming down, and, that's going to bring him up to the 1,200 and 1,000 got gold total. The first number was food, of course, and it has now clicked up there. And, has managed to do that before his opponent has, which is... Or has he? No, he hasn't. That is the wonder there. Sorry, I didn't have my text being researched open, so... but just going to follow him up with a straight-up fast fortress there. So both civilizations going to have this very heavily focused Fortress Age agenda. And of course, Aiz, was absolutely confident in going up to the Fortress Age in the sense that he wasn't anticipating, any sort of early shenanigans from China. He was absolutely had the room to do that. But, as you mentioned, he's let him go up uncontested. Those military shipments that you said you wouldn't really want to be sending, he hasn't had to send. And China is probably, quite happy with his position. Like, Russia hasn't done anything early on. I mean, that spells good news for China. So what does Aiz have in mind, and how effective is it going to be? That is the question.
Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion. I think he's going to try and utilize the
Kalmucks.
the card that transforms all Strelay into Musketeers, and then ship 2 Falconets and use that as a timing push. Because if you can see what he's doing, he's aging up with the Adventure, which is 17 Strelet, and he's also built 2 blockhouses, shipped 700 wood, and is gathering almost exclusively food while putting down a lot of houses. And what do we know about Strelet? They cost only food and wood. They cost a lot of population. And if you're going to be switching them all into Musketeers, you want a hell of a lot of them to make it worthwhile. And so I think that's what we're going to see. We see, the first batch of 10. If we switch over to the units training queue, all the units in queue. Oh, there we go.
More Strelets.
We can see more Strelets, currently being produced. And if you think about what he's got right now, right, he's got 20, he's got another 10 in queue, combined with the 17 that are going to come from the slow age-up adventure politician. We're already talking, 37 Strelet. He's easily going to get out, another batch or 2 and then send that card. And, oh, look, he even sent 13 Strelet because he's got the TP, right? So he sent 13 right now. This is going to be a ton of muskets when the card comes.
This looks like a very well optimized timing push by the looks of it. Even sending the 13 Strelets, which I imagine, was being sent during transition, of course. There's no reason to send that once you're up because, of course, you do have 17, or perhaps he did send it afterwards. He doesn't have his 17 Strelay in his deck for that Fortress Age card, but maybe it was a transition thing. Maybe, that server of reforms could be hitting as these guys arrive.
It's gonna hit right now. It's gonna hit like at 9 minutes.
Look at this giant army that Strelay walks into your base. You're like, I can counter that. Let's get some meteor hammers out. He's got them in queue right now, probably. I don't know. We can check. There it is. Oh my wow, that's a lot of muskets. Is he just gonna siege the TC? Is he just gonna destroy the spawn points? Surely not. You can receive shipments at your own villages, right?
Yeah, you can, but I mean, what do you do? I don't even know what you do with Mongo. Like, at 9 minutes...
He's just walked in and attack moved.
Yeah, and he's just shipped 1,000 coin as well. Mongo is straight at buying, and Aiz is just, like, punishing it so hard. Yeah. He still has 50 muskets left, and it's not like his economy is really all that weak, right? I mean...
It's really clear that he knew exactly what his opponent had in mind, because you don't just walk into your opponent's base and start sieging their town center if you don't know that they're specifically fast industrialing. That's such a ballsy move, and it looks like a very well optimized build order as well, very well timed.
It was so crisp, and look, he just takes a free win at 9 minutes.
Yeah.
He had straight up 60 musketeers at 9 minutes. That's really, and they're veteran musketeers as well, right?
Yeah, they're sneaking in that upgrade. Wow, what a cheeky win! That
was a really, really cool build order. Yep. It
was really crisp. You said it. You said that was the right word. Crisp. Absolutely so crisp. Spot on. 700, like the 20 villages in Age 1, he knew that's what he wanted. He wanted a trading post. He got that. 700 coins, 700 wood, your traditional fast fortress cards. Get up to the next age and get down the houses. And then 13 Strelay. He's clearly done it before because you might be tempted to send 17 Strelay. 13, gotta get them out nice and quick as a colonial age shipment whilst you're aging. And then 17 Strelay that you get for aging up, that you get from specifically that politician. And then straight into server reforms, and it was just so clean.
Look at the military unit count graph. It's absolutely dirty. It's just disgusting how many military units. He produces his first military unit at 7 minutes and 33 seconds, and by 8 minutes and 21 seconds, he's got 62, and then at 9 minutes, right when the fighting starts, they're veteran musketeers. You go from 0 units at 7:33 to 60 veteran musketeers at 9 minutes. That is just straight out dirty.
You go from 60 unupgraded strelets to 60 veteran musketeers in second. Just like that.
That is just disgusting.
Yeah. What a game to open with. A short one, but certainly an interesting one. That does conclude game number 1 in this best of 7. Going to Aizamk, but stay tuned, everybody. More coming up in just a moment. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 2 in this best of 7 series between Aizamk and Mongo10. Here we have... still the Russians, but this time being piloted by Mongo, a different player. And this is reminiscent of that snow game that I mentioned at the very beginning. It was this map, I believe, and it was in this top sort of right corner where this goat and this coin mine and this 8 EXP treasure was. Do you remember the...
Yes, I do remember the insane volley.
Yeah, all those strelets. And Russia was in the north of the map as well. No, wait. Well, that's... Whether that was true or not, Russia's now in the south.
Who was the opponent?
It was Snow, King Eric.
No, the Civ.
Koenig Eric.
The Civ.
Oh, it was, I believe...
What was the matchup?
I think it was China versus Russia.
Was it China versus Russia? Okay.
Something like that. It was certainly against Russia because there was lots of strelets and there was a little bombard, which is always interesting to see those go absolutely... The physics in this game is hilarious when you get those particular units involved. They go a very, very long way across the screen. But let's talk about what we have here. I'm going to turn on the population graphic from the beginning of the game. I'm going to press Shift Control F. Look at that. Gorgeous. And I guess we can follow the Red Explorer around... the Russian explorer, that is, finding a 75 food treasure and a goat, and I suspect that treasure he'll go for right away. Russia are going to be really, really happy with the food treasure there. Can get his 14 villager age up in a bit quicker if that's what he chooses to do. But against India, could be playing a more economic focused style, but still 75 food certainly on the cards, right?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think with any Civ, anytime you can find a food treasure, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like your age up is just going to be that much better. Wood treasure, similarly, for a lot of Civs. I don't know. Anytime you see like coin, I always just get a little disappointed inside when I see coin treasures and XP treasures, and oftentimes, you just end up walking by them in hopes that you'll find something a little bit better somewhere else on the map. And fortunately for him, picks up that 75 food. Certainly is going to help him out. Russia does have a tough time doing 14 pop age ups with no idle time, and that certainly is going to help him out in that regard.
Yeah, you can get that queued in nice and quick, and it helps out not just with the age up, but it gives you literally, obviously, clearly the extra food, 75 extra food, and that makes it a lot easier to train villagers and military units simultaneously, which Russia can sometimes struggle to do, especially early on, where you really want to choose one or the other. Here, though, a little bit of conflict in the center of the map. There's a 50 wood treasure nearby. These two elephants camping out near him. Perhaps they're waiting for the crack shot on the tiger.
Yeah.
There it is.
Unfortunately for the India player...
Oh boy! Oh, whoa! No.
Come on, get another one. You get the chance. That was
once in a blue moon.
Form by A's. That was perfect form by A's. A lot of people, when they play India, don't realize that. There's that 10% chance that you will stomp and stun the opponent explorer. And so if your opponent gets in there, gets the treasure, that he's knelt down and is picking up the treasure before you, just start swinging away with both those elephants. Start attempting to stomp them, and if you can get that stun, it's almost free for you. I mean, you definitely get it. And A's, he was on point with his stomp, got the stomp down, took the chance, but maybe just wasn't looking or didn't realize it in time, and Mongo was still able to recover from the stomp and still pick up the treasure.
Yeah, I believe A's said in the chat there that he misclicked. He clicked on the wrong unit there. Very sad, but still, you don't get to see the clutch stomp very often. Could have stolen that treasure from right literally under his nose, which would have been quite funny and deserved if you remember to get the stomp in. I think if you actually do try for it actively, you get rewarded. That's nice. But here, this is look at this in the center of the map. Lots of tension, clearly with their desired building placements. Is that blockhouse going to be reallocated? He sees the Agra fort certainly scouted it, and the villagers are heading home. They're going for a more defensively placed blockhouse now. He sees that there is an aggressive agenda on the card, potentially from India here, and obviously looks to get a bit further back, put this in a more secure location where he can have this secondary hunt.
Yeah, I think he was anticipating with the trading post that Aze's Agrifort would not be nearly as aggressively placed, as it were.
Yep.
And I mean, if we take a look at what Mongo's done, right? He's still done a 17 pop age up, I believe, right? No, he's done a 14 pop age up, so he would be up fairly quick. I guess the concern would still be that you don't want to have your reinforcements and potentially units split off from your town center. I mean, it'd just be really awkward if you were in a position where India were to get past your base, that you'd have to run from this location back to this location to defend, almost certainly taking damage from the Agrifort and giving him vision of your army composition and stuff like that. So just playing it safe, backing off, defending his hunts, and is going to be okay at the end of the day. I honestly think, though, that he could have kept it up here and just been happy with the fact that he could apply some pressure, because the trading post going down for India does mean that he's going to be up fairly slow. It's not going to be a super fast age up out of India, and as a result, maybe could have put on quite a bit of pressure. Hard to tell.
It is. So, what are we looking for from India here? You mentioned the trading post, which clearly is going to delay his age up. Certainly spent the time in age 1 gathering the wood for that, but this is a really far forward Agrifort. Ace may have been anticipating something aggressive coming out of it, or is it just for map control? Is it just something in the middle of the map? It's a strong building, right? Yeah. But not on its own. That's the issue, right? But cavalry do come in. Is he going to pick up any vills? It's certainly going to force them into the town center. Going to get.
Yeah, he should get that one in the back, I think.
Oh, he does, and maybe a second if he can block it appropriately. No, the clutch block. Close. To be fair, it was very close to the town center, quite unlikely. Yeah. But doing a good job of moving these vills around.
Yep, and idling them, even if he doesn't kill them. I mean, he just made essentially all of them go idle, and he got the sentry pop as well for his trouble.
That's a win, right? That's
a huge win in itself. So nice little pickup there for him. Certainly at the same time, Russia not under any pressure back home, and like you were mentioning, I mean, the Agrifort, this feels a little awkward for Ace for me, just because of how slow he was aged up, and I mean, sure, there are fairly few points to cross the map. Realistically, these are probably 2 points that Russia would like to have access to, and the Agrifort does have vision of both of those points of crossing now with the Agrifort placement, but realistically it doesn't provide really that much defense back home. And looking at his build, it's fairly slow. He's got good faith agreement sent and is sending 300 export, so everything that he's sending is very, very slow back at home, and it will be interesting to see whether or not Russia just completely ignores this and just goes straight for the throat, goes straight for the town center, as it looks like Ace is trying to do some sort of tech age 3 base play.
Yeah, I actually had to check what good faith agreements does. It's not a card I've seen too much of, and we'll have to see how he decides to go about utilizing that. At the moment, though, Russian army consisting of 9 Cossacks, or at least he sent 5 and 4, and a whole bunch of Strelets as well. If you look at that graph there, fairly even. Hold on. I guess there's just... Wait, is it right? Is that right? No, I was looking at economic. It's much further in red. That's exactly what I thought it was, but I was looking at the economic one. Here is that blue army a little bit... these Strelets very, very effective against the Musketeers.
Yeah. And we have to realize that some of Ace's population is sucked up in those couple sentries that really are pretty much dead already at this point, so not really providing any real threat there. It does look like both of the elephants, the explorers, do go down. Many of the musketeers
coming in. Look at that. Is it too late, though? They're certainly good against cavalry, but with the Strelets nearby, they're still going to go down pretty quick.
Yeah, 10 Tiger Claws coming for Ace.
That's definitely evened up. Yeah, times 2 versus heavy infantry, or infantry generally.
Got a good surround on them as well. And unfortunately, most of the cav are already pretty low as a result of this. I mean, he did use the Rajputs fairly effectively to try and deal with the cavalry. Yep. He also focused them down with his Sepoy fairly well early on. So now that his Tiger Claws are here, they've actually got a little bit of an opportunity to try and actually do something. But looks like Mongo's still going to be okay. He's got plenty of Starlet left over, and good control with the couple muskets that he did have to be able to deal with that as well.
It's interesting. Tiger Claws don't count as military on the military unit population.
Yeah, because they're technically natives, right? Which is kind of interesting.
Maybe it was maybe they ought to, but perhaps an oversight. And when Aizamk was plugging his list of units that count as or are counted as military, maybe. But either way, I think everything happened. If everything had happened a little bit later, a minute later, if he'd had the time for those Rajputs and the Tiger Claws to arrive, and all of his army was still alive before that engagement happened, I think Aizamk would have been in a fairly good spot, with the Tiger Claw pop, with the Rajput. But or maybe that was just a response to his army being heavily pressured.
Yeah. I think he had intentions of aging up, because if you look at what he did with the consulate, right? He went with the advanced consulate and then popped it over to French and then sent all of those crates. I think his hope was that he wouldn't be under any pressure and he could use those crates from the French consulate just to springboard into age 3. But that realistically didn't happen. There was too much pressure out of Mongo, and instead he had to call an audible, ship the Tiger Claws, build some military units, and as a result, ended up having to stick around in age 2, I think, far longer than he ideally would have liked to. I'm not certain that he really has the economy behind this to currently age up. If you take a look at the economic unit population, it's fairly even, with both sides having one wood trickle as well. So it's not like his economy is stellar, but at the very least, he is India. He's got the stronger units. His composition is going to get stronger the longer the game goes, and we'll see how it ends up playing out. Looks like a couple sours in the mix here now with this next card.
Sours! Where are they at? Yeah.
Down here in the south, running around. They look so goofy when they run.
The image looks hilarious as well. I've said it before, but it does look like that guy just has a giant dong.
It's just massive.
Yeah. He's even reining it in with the...
Yeah. He's got to tie a rope to it. It's so large.
Yeah, this is...
I never thought of it like that, but now it's one of those things. Like, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
It's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, there's that. The sours, though, do get deflected. I don't think they managed to pick up any vills. Certainly, this Russian army in the correct spots. He's got his blockhouse covering it. He's actually got very nice blockhouses covering one in the south there, and of course, the army on the can be covering the other side. Oh dear, not in the Fortress Age yet, A's. And what's this? We got Ottoman allies. Okay, so now he's switching over to Ottoman. Okay, gotten what he would like from the French, sending the villages instantly.
Yeah, he's gotten all the crates. Time to move on over to the autos, get what they can give him, a couple more economic units. It does look like he is trying to age up still. If you take a look at his resource count, he's got the required coin. He's got 1,000 coin, and he's quickly going to have the food required as well. He can probably do a little bit of market trading with this extra coin that he's building up and get the required resources to age very soon. The one thing that we do have to concern ourselves with if he does decide to age is look at Mongo's army. Mongo's actually got a pretty scary army. He's got 15 musketeers, 24 Starlet, and 10 Cossacks out of the stable that he's built here and is starting to reinforce those with. So he's got a pretty scary army. And, should A's age up, which certainly is in the cards, looks like he's aging right now, could be kind of a scary timing if Mongo identifies like, hey, my opponent hasn't really done anything for the past 2 or 3 minutes. I wonder what's up. And if he, decides to go start poking and prodding, he's going to find a pretty weak Indian army here that's going to meet him in the middle of the map.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And if we switch over to the units in queue, I believe. No units. No, there are. There's musketeers and Cossacks in queue. There's this army, and it's only going to get larger because, of course, the red player here not aging up. His opponent has chosen to do that. And, that's 2,200 resources worth of military that he's not going to have as a result of it. By the looks of it at the moment, though, red is on the other side of the map. He's not harassing blue just yet. Aizamk may be able to get up to that next stage unharassed. It's also worth pointing out Aizamk did research imperial bureaucracy, which is rather expensive. Certainly a good time to do it, but still expensive, and is going to add to the military unit deficit. I think he might be okay. Like let's switch it back to the text being researched. Yeah, almost there, almost in the next stage now. And then he's going to be able to get a shipment out, which he almost basically has, and has some units Having said that, though, Red is on his way, and Boyaz has just arrived. Look at that, slamming it down. I don't know. It's a question of how much longer does he have, and I think Red has either identified something or decided, now Boyaz has arrived, it's go time.
Yeah, and this is so scary. I mean, look at the military population, 87 versus 38, and like you mentioned, Boyar's here, buffing up his infantry and his cav is going to be very, very scary. Aze does get aged up, does get the Mahout that comes with the Charminar Gate tech, but, I mean, he's still a pretty long ways off. He's going to hopefully be able to send a very impactful shipment, something like Urmi or 3 Mahouts, something like that, that's going to be able to deal with this infantry. But still, a very formidable army is waiting for him right outside his base.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? It was the question of how long did he have, and the answer was not as long as he was hoping for, possibly.
Yeah.
The Red Army has arrived, and he's going to, he is moving away from the Red player's base, but a lot of villagers here, and now, this army is forced to defend. And there's not really many of them. It does draw him away from his base, but I don't think... And I guess towards that Agrifort, I guess this is buying as much time as he could hope for. This is possibly the better way he can handle this situation.
Yeah.
Red not going to take the bait, though, and looks like he's heading right back to the soft underbelly that is where his entire economy is, and of course the rest of his infrastructure.
Yeah, here comes 3 Mahouts. That is the card that was sent. So he does have 4 total Mahouts, which is going to help him, especially if Red splits up his army like this. But this is when it's so awkward to have your aggro fort out here in the middle of the map. He would realistically like to have that back home, protecting his coin mines, protecting his hunts. Yeah. Now, like you mentioned, he's so soft right here. I mean, he's switched over to the British consulate, which is going to help buff up his military units. Are we just going to see a base trade? Is that what he's realistically going to do?
Well, I think at this point...
He's shipped the petards. He's straight up going to go for a base trade. It's
wow.
crazy. Here they go. Here go the bills.
Yeah, he's getting them out there. He's surrendered his base. Yeah, look, there's lots of red vills down here, and he's going to be able to see that by clicking on the minimap. Mahouts have, fairly good siege. The 120 siege. They are really, really quite good at what they do. And yeah, it looks like he's going to base trade. And there's a mill invested in this. That's a fairly expensive building that he's now going to lose as well. Looks like Red, though, he's got 2 options, right? It is base trade, or is it be back in time for dinner to save what remains of your town?
Yeah,
these explosions.
I think he's trying to find out where the villagers are. I think he saw them sneak out to the right side, and he's trying to identify where the villagers are. He's picking up some of them here. Look, he's already decided to rebuild his town center up here. Wow, things are going to get really awkward here in a hurry, in a bad way. Honestly, I think Mongo's still better equipped to deal with this. If you take a look at the economic unit population, they're still about even. Obviously, A's, because he's aged up, has the stronger units by default, has got the better army. But at the same time, Mongo is, I think, going to be able to save more villagers. He's got the, I think, better overall composition. He's got higher, better rating cav than A's does, which are going to be very, very valuable in this kind of awkward situation where the villagers are all scattered out.
He's found some more vills. Yeah. Even in that economic thing up, Red is ahead, but if he can catch those, he's going to be in a good spot. Yeah, you mentioned, he's stronger economically. Russia has these things. Russia's in a good spot. But equally, Blue's base is gone. He's just destroyed, pretty much all of it. There's, he's got a couple of houses left and a few things there. Blue's base still stands. He's got all of this infrastructure. He's got his town center. He hasn't had to spend on that. Red's army is nearby, but certainly worth pointing out is how much steam does Red have before having lost his base really affects him. Resigns. Blue, everything still stands, and it was that indecisive moment of, do I chase his vills, do I kill his base, or do I go home and defend? And that moment there, I think, look at that, it's closed the game out clearly. Taking the victory.
The indecision just completely cost him there. Like he and to be honest, I mean, he doesn't have the greatest siege potential in his army, right? He's just got unupgraded musketeers, which have 16 siege attack. He's got a ton of Strellet, but look at the siege attack on those, 8, right? They're not bringing down the TC anytime quick. And when you consider, they're up against 4 Mahouts and a whole bunch of upgraded sepoy plus 6 petards from the consulate, the siege potential in Aze's army obliterated the Red base in a matter of a minute, versus Mongo, who would have probably still been sieging to this day, like to this minute, had he decided to try and siege. And as a result, it cost him dearly, just the indecision, running his army back and forth in the middle of the map, while A's had a very clear-cut idea of what he was trying to accomplish, seeking out the villagers, and destroying his opponent's entire infrastructure. Really, really paid off.
And you can see how hard it hit him, right, by looking at that resource pile. Mongo stacking the resources you need for the industrial age as a direct result of not having any infrastructure to use them up with. And, you know, the tempo loss from that is quite large. Certainly could have played it out and rebuilt his buildings, but, you know, probably wasn't expecting Mahoots and Petards to come forward now. A very interesting game number 2, bringing the score up to 2-0 in Aizamk's favour. Don't go anywhere, guys. Any concluding thoughts, or more coming up next?
More coming up. That was still A's is just playing so dirty. He's playing so well right now.
That's it. That's all I got.
Well, that's fine.
I'm sitting here in shock in front of my computer of what I've just witnessed.
This is turning out pretty good.
Yeah, it's and when you really think about what hit Mongo hard, he didn't have any houses, right? That's one thing that I was just noticing at the end. He didn't have any houses, and he didn't really have the wood to be able to rebuild his houses. So his army wasn't ever going to get any better because Ace had killed all the houses.
That's true.
Pretty dirty. Pretty dirty. What map do we want next? What's a fun map? Let's do... What do you want? What kind of map are you feeling?
Oh god, Honshu Regicide.
Okay, let's try again. Something that's not Honshu Regicide. I don't know if there's an observer version of Honshu Regicide.
There's a version for the old.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to fix my volume mixer. The first game you were disgustingly quiet, and this game you are incredibly loud.
I've informed the players that we're doing Honshu Regicide next. He says don't have it. Bummer. Let's do
It's okay, we'll cast it without the UI.
It'll be worth it. We can
Actually, it wouldn't be as fun as it sounds. Like, anyone in the chat is thinking, Honshu Regicide? Oh, you never see that? That would be fun. There's a reason people don't play it.
Yeah.
It's not fun. I tried playing like a free-for-all on Honshu Regicide. I thought, yeah, that would be fun. Giant map. No. What makes this game fun is these small, compact maps where you have to fight for resources and space, which is partly the design of that tiny free-for-all map I made. But Honshu is just so dumb.
Yeah. Where is the castle in Honshu Regicide? Is it in the middle of the main island?
There is no castle. You start with one. You start with like a fort.
Oh, right.
In the north, and there's the other guy in the south, and then you have a regent castle inside your fort where you can garrison your regent. And if the regent dies, you lose the game.
What am I thinking? I'm thinking of King of the Hill. Yeah. Is there a King of the Hill? Honshu?
You could enable King of the Hill and then play Honshu Regicide.
Yeah.
I think you could do that.
That would be
and then
like
you could put a no rush 40 treaty on it as well.
That would be the ultimate, like, in just horrible Age of Empires experiences.
Texas, that is a suggestion.
Texas is actually kind of a fun RE map, right? Like, Texas is...
It's a non-standard map, and I think it gets it doesn't get as much love as it ought to because of that, because people don't like adapting and making new build orders based on a specific map.
I mean, you start with a military building and 2 towers. Or if you're a civ like Russia, you just have like straight out 2 blockhouses. It's just kind of disgusting.
Yeah, Russia does pretty good on that.
I think there was a time where Texas was a tournament map back in 2010 or 2011, something like that. And Sam and Ryan were fairly convinced that playing French and FIing, like straight FIing, was like the thing to do. Yeah.
I think Texas makes I think that's where Texas belongs, is as a tournament map, because it's one of those fringe case, edge case, weird maps that make for varied but also very interesting gameplay where preparation and planning are rewarded. And I think Texas, is better for that than ladder play. I think certainly these new maps that Gaia makes, varying the map pool and putting in stuff that you're not always necessarily going to expect. It's providing it's balanced, which Texas isn't always, but I think that's the best place for it. And that'd be interesting to see in a future ESOC tournament, perhaps. Maybe Gaia will have maybe a similar map to Texas, or even Texas itself.
Yeah, maybe just like a slightly fix the hunts on Texas, right? I think that's most people's biggest concern with Texas is
Yep. That's the issue.
sometimes you start with 4 pronghorn and then your next hunt is in the middle of the map and it's like 6 bison or something. It's just ridiculous. Like you literally have 10 animals that you can even possibly try and get, and which is just not fun to play on. I think that's most people's largest concern with that map.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 3 in this best of 7 series between Aizamk and Mongo10. 2 fairly interesting games. And this series hopefully shaping up for what I was hoping it would be, and I think it really is almost living up to that stream that I mentioned at the very start of this video. So if you haven't seen that, do go and check that video out as well. It was a very, very fun Smackdown. But this Smackdown is the one that we are looking at right now. Well, obviously, what kind of a comment was that? It's like the dumbest commentary comment I could have ever made. Like, it was trying to segue back into the action that's happening this game, but it was just like the most.
This is not the Smackdown you think.
Yeah, happening in a parallel, no.
Yes, Smackdownception.
Smackdownception, indeed. 40 XP, though, Aizamk does pick up with the William Ball Explorer. Loving the name there. Do go follow me on Twitter. That is at Interjection with an underscore at the end. That's my real name, and that's where it's published, so if you're wondering, now you know. It does come across a Disciple, decides to get a shot on there, and I mean, that was worth doing. You might as well. It doesn't use up any movement time, and 1 shot of damage. If he really was paying attention, we can give him the benefit of the doubt and say that was a high-level play, sort of, in a way. I don't know. It is really kind of meaningless. Let's turn the fog of war off here and take a look at what Aizamk's likely to find. A Tomahawk treasure. This map isn't the best for treasures. 90 food over there, but it's a little bit, in the edge and is quite far away. Maybe he's not going to find that. Perhaps he will. And a 95 wood treasure as well. That is the big one. That's a nice one as well. So 2 fairly interesting treasures. What is Red going to come across to?
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's coming across anything, honestly. He's like basically just in this barren wilderness of land. Although, having said that, his Disciple does happen across the 80 food, and so he's going to pick that up and going to be able to pick that up and like we mentioned last game, right? These little food treasures for civs like Russia and China, which tend to age a little bit slower, certainly do help them get aged up a little bit quicker. If you think about China and what they're going to be doing, realistically, their goal is to not have to cut villager production whatsoever. Age around 17 population, and that 80 food is just going to expedite that in a fairly significant way.
Yep, gonna make that absolutely much easier. Get the foundation down without delaying the production, as you mentioned. But similarly, Aizamk going to be picking up the 90 food treasure as well. So evening that out, and is going to be pretty happy about that. Still that 90 wood roaming around, so we'll have to see what he gets there. But I didn't actually introduce the players. We do have British in the right-hand side of the map in the colour blue. Aizamk starting with 1 house and no trading posts? What's going on? Oh, alright, I see it now. All right.
There it is.
We see it. There we go. There's the Virginia company. This was too standard to be true, and now we see it, yeah. A whole bunch of houses only being laid down, and this is specifically after this shipment has arrived, right, where it reduces the cost of your houses to 88 wood, down from 135. So this is, once that arrives, you see quite the number of villages pop out, and that's what he has in his mind, clearly.
I'm surprised there was no trading post with this as well. It was, I guess in his defense, it was a coin crate start, which does slow down the build, I would assume, in a fairly significant manner.
Yeah. Some foreheads in the chat, please, ladies and gentlemen. That was a cracking.
I didn't even realize that it was going to be a play on words until it was like rolling off the tip of my tongue. But yeah, I mean, it's going to slow him down realistically, right? Because normally when we see him do this build, he builds that trading post and then uses that extra XP to do like send either 300 wood and then Virginia Company or the other way around or something like that. I don't know the specifics of the intricacies of his Virginia Company builds, but it seems like there's usually a trading post involved, I guess, is what the main point I'm trying to make, and there isn't that necessarily this time around. So it could be significantly slower than normal, but we'll have to see how it ends up shaping up.
Yeah, we will. We'll have to see how that goes. Absolutely. So I was not I was looking at the chat for the foreheads. They're all right now.
Here they come. There's a couple of them.
There's a couple. But, it's weird to think that the only place that these build orders exist is in Aizamk's mind. I don't really think they exist anywhere else. They're not, written down. They're not really well known by other people.
No, and if you were to, ask most people, how do you play Brits? What's the build order that all PR35 plus Brit players are going to use? They're going to be like, oh, it's going to be some variation of 3 Vils, 700 wood, 5 Vils, 600 wood, or 3 Vils, 700 wood, 600 wood, something like that.
Not Virginia Company.
Very few of them are going to say TP 300 wood Virginia Company or something like that, which, like you mentioned, only exists in A's world, but it works, right? Which is the important thing.
We'll have to see. How do you think Mongo's you scouted this, or he's aware of what's going on here? He's taken the time to slam down an extra trading post there. He knows that Britain doesn't have anything really coming for a while. He's going to have that very delayed age 1, considering the sheer number of manas he decided to slam down in it. And he's gone for the extra 200 wood, getting the second trading post, going to increase the potency of that fortress age that China wants to have. Yep. Perhaps that's on his mind. Some food there.
I think it's a good play by him, right? Because what A's build is trying to accomplish is just a fairly slow age up. 5:30 age up with.
This is interesting. 7 step riders coming out.
It's a build that I've seen a couple people do. It's like a semi-FF type build, and it ends up working out because of the trading post. Usually you see this build with only 1 trading post, but he's going to end up doing it with 2 trading posts. Gives him a little bit of rating pressure. Hopefully tries to deny some of the hunt. What do we always say about Brit players? They always need a ton of hunt in order to kind of make this happen. And so these 7 step riders, especially on a map like this where the hunt... It's pretty abundant, but it's a little bit further out than maybe on a map like Great Plains or something like that. It allows him to bell up some villagers and cause some sort of hurt for the British player.
How is he going to pick up? He's picked up 2 so far. That's the 3rd one, I believe. Forgot about those. Oh, clearly that's not good. Maybe 4. Oh, and he just wasn't anticipating it. You just wouldn't expect step riders out of China. How often do they go for a colonial age to gender or do anything in the colonial age? They don't usually do anything like that at all. And these 7 step riders, managing to punish that Vil, which in other matchups Aizamk probably would have pulled back a lot sooner But this one you just don't expect it. And equally, the herding goes with it, as you mentioned. What you need? Hunts. He hasn't herded them. Perhaps didn't think it was as necessary to do that. And clearly it is, and that's also marked by the fact that he's put his tower way out over here. He was not expecting anything to harass him at all.
Yeah, look at the economic unit population. This is absolutely disastrous for Brits. I mean, he's down 6 eco population. Sure, he's going to catch up when he's able to, spend the rest of that wood and build some manors. But these 7, or I guess now 4 step riders are still causing plenty of issue for him. He's still taking a lot of damage from them. And all this while, I mean, look at what Mongo's doing behind us. He's got 2 trading sites. He's aging with his porcelain tower. He's up 5 economic unit population. Nothing has really been slowed down as a result of this. And all of a sudden, this is just starting to look fairly horrendous for A's.
Yeah, this looks like the inverse of what would normally happen, right? Normally you'd see Britain or France or whatever civ it is would make those military buildings when they get up to age 2 particularly stable and then start raiding with cavalry and doing basically what China did to A's there. You normally see China doesn't have their military buildings up right away, and you can force the villagers into the towns and you can really harass them. And that's exactly what Aizamk suffered from. No military buildings, wanted to go straight up to the fortress age with this economic start, lots of manas, very, very slow age 1, and was punished for that. Had no military to defend with, and those cavalry just ran him ragged. But
despite all that, I just realized Ace had the resources to age, and he actually got aged up.
He did. He had it in queue. So, he's now up to the next stage. Yeah. Absolutely.
Which is pretty good for him, and we can see. I mean, another non-standard build, right? He's got the church here. He sent the glorious revolution.
Yes.
We're going to be seeing Highlanders here pretty quick.
Your standard 830 church.
Yep.
Yep.
Two
Churches don't get
Falconets.
nearly as much representation as I feel that they should. But yes,
man.
2 Falconets coming out, and with the Highlanders that are probably imminent. Yeah, their Black Watch has been researched currently, 50%, 2/3%, 75% done. It'll be here any moment now. They're going to be really, really useful protecting these. The composition is great, and look at the tower placement. There they are, just in time. And look, the cavalry, he thought they might be able to come out and punish the cannons, but no, not the case. What do you think of, like, you know, that there are these cavalry units? Is going to take down quite a lot of health on that. Should he have waited for the Black Watch, or do you think it was okay to just get these cannons out?
I was just about to say that is such a ballsy play, because look at the next card. 90%, I would say, China players are going to be sending 5 meteor hammers as their first card in the Third Age, and
he'll see that coming right with that tower.
Had those meteor hammers come,
he does.
Just a little bit earlier, it would have just been devastating. I mean, what are 7 longbows and 2 falconets going to do against 5 meteor hammers? The answer is die. The answer is die.
The answer is indeed die. Yeah.
Spoilers.
Does clean up the buildings there. Leaves the consulate up. That thing has, you know, a lot of health. Perhaps wants to get to the buildings that are giving him more of an advantage, I suppose. I mean, villages, you know, are softer to kill. They represent more wood, and they're going to hurt him more in the short term, which is going to affect his long term, I suppose. And you know, absolutely, I think leaving the consulate there, getting start harassing this soft China underbelly, has got the absolute monster composition to do it with as well.
Yeah,
Black
and
Watch are crazy.
Mongo's actually in a bit of an awkward position here. He needs to gather quite a bit of wood, because look at his population. He's struggling to get the population to actually just ship units. Look at his resource count. He's got tons and tons of resources, and you know, having lost 2 villages, and certainly this one is fairly exposed to falconet fire. Should Ace hunker down here on the south side of his base and start to kill that one, I mean, he's going to go sink right back to being low population once again, which is...
I wonder if he had anything in queue at that consulate that made it particularly devastating to have destroyed. Certainly, though, it does mean he doesn't get the intervention. He's already sent it.
Yeah, he sent the intervention, and I believe, I'm not actually 100% sure on this, but I believe he would have still gotten the interventioned redcoats, even if consulate would go down.
They only arrive if you have a consulate, but you can send it. They won't arrive until the consulate is built, but they will pop out as soon as the consulate is built. Okay. So it's an interesting timing you could do. If you wanted them, you could make them only arrive when the consulate's up. Anyway, fight here.
Yeah, this is still awkward. I mean, Mongo doesn't have a great army here, and with the veteran musketeers, 5 hussar coming in here, obviously the Black Watch still very strong. The falconets being very well defended. It looks like the meteor hammer is just going to try and come in and punish those falcons. One does go down.
The control on those musks is good as well. Like those cab trying to find a way in, but he's just not letting it happen. It does lose one of the falconets. You know, did lose some health on one of them earlier to like 3 random cab, but you know, ultimately they were protected. Does manage to take one out with the town center fire, but still 1 falconet representing a lot of damage in those arquebuses yet. Ooh, look at that, the centuries getting blown across. It represents quite the threat. Not against the porcelain tower, sadly, but I'm sure Ace will redirect that fire soon.
Yeah, I think he just needs to finish off the TC. It's at 600 HP. If he can just pull down that TC, Mongo's never gonna be able to get that back up. And you know, even
that's exactly what he's doing. Look at that.
Yeah, if he gets pushed back here, no big deal, right? I mean, sure, you lose your army, but look at the economic and the population. China's so far behind at this point. He's struggling with his population space as well, and that's what's going to happen. He's going to get pushed back here, but realistically gets off one more decent shot with the falconet, does some pretty good damage to those arquebusiers, and now he can just go back. He's in age 3.
He doesn't care. Look at his unit population. He's pretty happy.
And he's way ahead. I mean, he's double, almost triple. Well, in fact, now he is triple the population of his opponent. And
perhaps not for long.
Uh-oh. Leading the charge.
No, they're going. It's just the spawn point from the cannons. They were following the same route. Does lose 2, sadly, but still ahead, definitely. And forcing his opponent to have 600 wood, or otherwise just stop villager production. It does happen to have the wood for that, but you know, that's going to slow his military down. And at this point, You know, he needs to make something happen. He needs to kill some villagers. He needs to damage the blue player. Blue is happy to just to sit in his base now, build some more units, and just the rest of the game can unfold in any way he likes. He's in a good spot to just go ahead and win.
And remember, he did send Virginia company, and he still has at least 6 manors to go. I mean, he's got 6 to 8 manors he can still build, which is another 6 to 8 villagers. He can just continue to push this economic lead, control the map, siege down the trading posts, and wait until he has an unkillable army built up, because realistically he's probably going to need, you know, something like a few hussars or something to be able to deal with this large massive ranged units. I mean, he did see that the last shipment that Mongo sent was 10 arquebusiers, and so he's likely going to want to build a stable well, it looks like in fact he's just going to build an artillery foundry, maybe even train a couple falconets or something like that. Does he have any in queue? Yeah, there's 2. Yeah, and that's certainly going to be very difficult for these arquebusiers to deal with.
Yep, it is. And bang! Oh, the tree's falling down as well. Get ready.
Oh, here comes another one.
Oh, more trees.
Look at the tree. The tree falling animation is actually pretty good in this game.
It's in one of my free-for-all maps, the tiny free-for-all I made. Because it was so small and I needed to keep the wood consistent and lots of wood, I stacked like 100 trees in one square, and then when a cannon blew them over, it was just like this massive spiral in every single direction you could possibly think of just trees falling. It's hilarious. The tree animation is wonderful. Wasn't anticipating that to happen. It was quite the funny moment on the stream. But back in the game here, 2 falconets. It's back to square one, right? Musketeers and cannons. Let's go again.
And I mean, it's like, what does Mongo even do? I mean, he does have, fortunately, 4 meteor hammers, so if he does get a good flank with these meteor hammers, he can probably kill these falconets. I mean, he's even got 4 iron flails there as well, so if he can kill the falconets, you know, it buys him at least a little bit more time. And here come the Minutemen. It looks like he's just going to have to ram it in there.
Yep.
Here they come.
There's a lot of units.
The meteor hammers are still going to have a difficult time getting in there.
Not if he gets... That extra range, right? So useful.
So good. This is the situation specifically that we talk about, where meteor hammers are just far superior to other H3 cavalry units when it comes to killing cannons, because most other units would have had a very difficult time getting in there and dealing with those cannons, but the meteor hammers are just able to abuse their extra little bit of range and just kill those falconets. And this is why I was pointing out that I thought it would be smart for Ace to build Hussar, just because sure, he would have to, you know, build a stable, get veterancy upgrades, stuff like that. Yeah. He's already sent his 5 Hussar, so it's going to be hard to pull together a mass, but truthfully, I think the Hussar would be more valuable to him at this point than the falconets, just because of how efficient meteor hammers are at dealing with artillery units. And, you know, wasting 2 cannons like that, it's 1,000 resources flushed down the drain that he's not going to be able to recover. And all of a sudden, Mongo's army looks pretty good here. Look at the military unit population. I mean, he's back on top. He still has a couple, you know, unit shipments to send. He still has stuff like 4 iron flails, 7 hand mortars coming in now. So I mean, he still has some decent options available for him, and Ace is not out of the woods just yet, despite the fact that he has, you know, 40 more villagers at this point in the game.
Jaegers though, that's what's been going on. Like now, look at the military unit pop is back fairly even here. That cannon though is a little bit out of position, sadly, and that's unfortunate for him. So this is, you know, 7 mortars have arrived. This is go time now for China. He can't sit around any longer. He knows that his opponent is going to have more villages. It's British. British do that. British get lots of settlers. He's going to have to make something happen. Mortars arrive. It's time to go, and you know, he's in a good spot to do that. He's taken out those 2 cannons, as you mentioned, and had a good fight just now. And now that they're here, can he do it? That's the question. Jaegers pop out. He's probably not too happy about that, but something has to happen. This is a critical moment in the game.
Well, this is a good start for him. The Jaegers wandering that far forward right into the hands of the Cav. That's certainly about the best he could have hoped for at this point in the game. Yeah, the Jaeger's taking a lot of damage.
He needs to get rid of it. Well, yeah, that's really what's offering him there. They're a strong team.
Yeah, that's the scariest thing in this composition. He's got plenty of arquebusiers and redcoat musketeers of his own to be able to kind of deal with the rest of the units in the composition, primarily the musketeers.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really have a great answer to the Jaegers just now, and so he was able to kill a couple of them. Only 8 Jaegers do remain, so that's it's a win. It's certainly not paving the way to victory by any means, but it certainly is something that's going to help him. And if he can continue to whittle those down and maybe get a couple reinforcing batches of cav, looks like something like some cav are coming in here. So if he can get those up into the fight and get them in a good position to flank the Jaegers, certainly. Well, I mean, he's not dead just yet.
Dead. GG though, but he knows it. Like he's not dead yet. No, it's true. He's not dead. He's still there. But it's that economy shining through, right? We can see that he's literally triple his opponent, and the results of that is, even with a bad fight, even with losing a couple of Jaegers, that many villagers that are still working, still generating resources, you're still able to fund more military units. You just outmass your opponent. You can just make more reinforcements than they can, and the more stuff principle is really the ZutaZuta theory of choice here, and the very relevant one. Shining
through in all of its glory. And well, I mean, it was close. And Mongo, he was really close. If he could have just kept, if he could have kept his villages alive, and maybe if he wouldn't have just put his base so far forward, losing that early war academy and that village out in the middle of the map really, really hurt him. And as a result of that, he had to rebuild his war academy, which set him back 200 wood. He had to rebuild a whole slew of villages that ended up going down to those 2 falconet shipments. He just ended up, having to rebuild probably 1,000 wood worth of infrastructure, which is very taxing on the fragile Chinese transition economy. And as a result, wasn't able to get out the military units he needed to stabilize, and never got that H3, China death ball that we like to talk about really rolling. And A's really controlling those first 2 falconets efficiently and making the most out of them.
Absolutely. And that does conclude game number 3 in this series. The score is currently 3-0 in favor of Aizamk. Don't go anywhere, more coming up. Game number 4 getting underway here. Portuguese versus what is
China
it?
Again.
China again. I knew it was yellow, but I was reluctant to say China because we just saw it. Yes, yellow. Portugal versus yellow.
The magical yellow Sib.
Here we go. Spawning in on Manchuria, which uses the Mongolia tile set. Again, my favourite looking map. The ocean is wonderful. I say it every time because it's true. Spawning in the north of the map in the colour red, we do have yellow. Yes. Here he is, the Chinese player there. And what treasures has he got in his base? 20 coin, up to the north here, 40 food, and down to the south, 30 food, guided by 1 lion. That is not a good treasure, but it is a treasure nonetheless. Alright. Well,
it's still food, right? I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's still food.
Ooh, 85 wood there. But still, probably, wants to get these yaks, and that's probably his agenda there. A's going for 65 coin right off the bat, on his way to creep. He's creeping. No trading post. I mean, I'm always reluctant to dismiss the idea of a trading post when we're considering A's here. And here
I'm always reluctant to
blue.
I'm always so reluctant to say anything until I see it happen when A's is playing. You're like, oh no, there's no way that he's going to build 6 trading posts and send Virginia Company and then chop 2,000 wood before he ages up. And then he does it and he feels like an absolute idiot. So you're always reluctant to say anything when you watch A's. With some people, like Sam or whatever, who play like very standard by the book, like pretty textbook style, like you feel fairly confident saying things like, oh, they're going to do this because that's how this player plays, and he just executes very, very well, and as a result ends up winning a lot of games. But A's executes very well, but he does very strange things that he executes well. So you're always reluctant to say something about his build of choice until you actually see the card being sent and actually know like precisely what he's doing.
Yeah, shall we take a look, a peek at his deck? Do we have any Easter eggs in here? No decks just yet, and that would make sense because as Portugal, you sometimes don't send any cards in the first stage. Though on this particular patch, Ace's 10-10 with ports is not as good as it used to be. Villages, certainly now cost 80 food, so you'd think, oh, why isn't it better? It should be better. You should be able to age up faster. But you do start with 100 less food, and that is going to hurt your early age up more than it hurts anything else. So there's that, and that, of course, was a balancing consideration, considering these villages are a lot cheaper. But what do we have on the cards? No, certainly not a 10-10. He's clearly built a house and has 11 villages. But still, I am expecting something from Aiz. That is the case. We'll see what it is a bit later on. But China, probably going to have a very standard agenda. Though, having said that, did we see a fast industrial in Game 1? Or at least next
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll have to see. And I mean, this is another candidate for fast industrial, right? Like, he's against Portuguese, which is traditionally a fairly slow playing civ. They don't, often play very aggressively unless you're A's, in which case you 10-10 and quite frequently play them very aggressively. But that's not going to be happening in this game, like you mentioned. He's got 12 population out of 20. He certainly has built that house and. Even dropping down to market now, so it looks like he's going to play a little bit more standard. And the thing I'm curious about is whether or not he's going to send a first card. By the looks of it, he's not going to send that first card just yet, and is perhaps going to hold on to it. And that signals to me that he's something like 700 wood, 700 coin going to be coming very early on in the second age for him.
Yeah, and that's probably true. Wants to get that nice big tempo that you get out of that card. Of course, you can send schooners, but opting to not have a water agenda, probably not going to be playing something that's that slow, and instead going to use that for... Here we go. Zen Temple going down. We can find out if we hold Alt what you can research. So Soi's there, or Saoi, or something like that. Japanese warrior monk armed with a Naginata, good against cavalry and building. So clearly a pikeman-style unit with... Actually, a not bad upgrade there. Like meditation gives you 1,000 XP, similar to mercantilism. But Town Center looks like it's going to be placed aggressively, and we'll have to see what his first shipment is. I suspect it'll be something that's aggressive and synergizes with this trading post. Traditionally, you only build this because you want to be very aggressive with units that you can train before you're aged up. He's not going to achieve that, but certainly, I believe, is going to get a lot of units somehow. Maybe what is that card? Yeah. The one that gives you... Does he have it in his deck is the question. He does not. I thought perhaps the native trading post one that gives you a tribe of units from each thing.
Yeah, he's just building the Saoi right now. And I was looking at the Zen Temple. There's also this tech called Master Lessons, and it makes all hand infantry damage increase by 10%. Not too bad of an upgrade.
Yeah, certainly not too bad at all. 10% is quite a lot. Though it is fairly expensive. Probably won't be seeing that until a bit later on in the game. But nothing... to scoff at. This is where you're Mongo and you're like, what? What is this?
What am I actually playing?
Yeah, these things have a lot of siege. 38, they're pikemen.
Yeah, they have a ton of siege, and they're going to start harassing these villages very early. He's got 10 of them out already.
Yeah. And I imagine 8 crossbow going to be, follow up as a shipment, and that's, or 6 musks, add to the siege potential. And calling the both sets a Minutemen there, he's obviously going to get away. Leaving those 2, I like that decision. They probably would have died on the back foot.
Yep, and I mean, making him ship both sets of Minutemen at 5 minutes into the game is really going to slow down his H3 agenda. It's definitely going to be a win for him, and there comes the 8 crossbow, just like you mentioned. He could continue the pressure, building himself a trading post to expedite his XP, and now just building more So
Japanese of some description.
Yeah, and look at that. He even made him ship 8 Chukunu. A's made Mongo ship 8 Chukunu, which is going to be, just an even slower progression at this point.
Well, you see Soe in your base, and that's probably the logical thing to do. You're like, holy shit, this guy's playing. Like the only time you see trading posts being built that are not actual trading posts are when people want to be hyper-aggressive using the native villages, which don't see very much competitive play, largely because they're not very useful. The units there are often not as good as the ones you can train yourself, and are expensive because they cost wood, and wood is that undesirable resource because it takes a long time to gather. Look at this, a lot, trying to attack that town center, but not get too close. He's going to head back there, very cheeky, trying to stay out of range. Of course, you don't want to lose any of these units. The value of those units compared to the what are these 40 wood each and 55 food? Compare that to the trading post. That's why he's being so careful.
Yeah. I like this. I wonder if this is planned. He's got like the one swinging in from behind, going to try and snare everything. It looks like he's just going to jam everything in there, and it's going to be pretty successful with it.
Did he like lure him out? Was he like, yeah, come and get me? Oh, I'm going to stay away from you. I'm going to stay away from you. Come and get me a bit more. I'm going to stay. Oh, there's some disciples.
Yeah, but
They're pretty good against.
I mean, they're military units. At this point, Mongo's just in like urgent recovery mode.
Actually,
fortunately for him,
pikemen. They take damage multipliers.
Yeah. Fortunately for him, though, he does have the axe, which is going to help him quite significantly, going to allow him to gather some food. But Mongo is still trying to FF behind this. I mean, look at his resource count. He's gathered up his 700 coin. He's going to be able to throw down the Wonder, and look at that. I think he made the absolute right decision here. He decides to opt for the Confucian Academy, and against this sort of aggression that he's facing, certainly that's going to end up paying dividends to him, just due to the fact that having those extra military units is going to be very, very beneficial when it comes to dealing with more aggression. And I think a slip up here would be to continue to go with the Porcelain Tower.
Yeah.
Confucian Academy definitely going to help him in dealing with these shorter ranged units.
Yeah, the extra resources you get from the Porcelain Tower, definitely very desirable. In this case, though, maybe you die before you become useful. So absolutely the right decision. I think you're absolutely right in pointing that out. The 8 Arquebusier. For the time being, though, I'd like to know where that spyglass went. That's an interesting use.
I reckon it went like right here, right on top of the town center.
Essentially, if he was aging.
Yeah. Essentially, you just want to see if he's aging. And ideally, you would know what wonder he's making as well, because if he sees the Confucian Academy, he can just build cav. And we can see he's got a stable here. He hasn't built any Hussar out of it just yet, but had he spotted the Confucian Academy explicitly, he'll know that his opponent's going to have 8 Arquebusiers on age up, and as a result, he should train some Hussar and be able to deal with those Arquebusiers quite efficiently with those Hussar on age up. So we'll see whether or not those Hussar end up coming out, but I suspect that he was able to spot the Confucian Academy with his spyglass, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. Ooh, is he going to get caught here? Not too good. Those Arquebusier are going to tear their way through these Sawi, though to be honest, they're not that useful at this point in the game. It's not a huge loss. Certainly would prefer to keep them alive. Could just randomly come in and start sieging houses or something like that when his opponent's on the other side of the map, or the extra HP in the first fight. But he's not obviously not going to be happy, but it's not too devastating there. China is up though, 8 Arquebusier. We do see the first batch of units coming from the War Academy, and we'll certainly see shipments soon to come. One has just been queued up. Absolutely just went down from 1 to 0 there. Does he have cavalry in queue? Not yet. Dragoons are in queue. He does it in his stable, and we'll have to see how this pans out. Very even economies. And I suppose the main thing here that A's achieved was slowing, obviously getting rid of that trading post, disrupting the economy for his opponent, and causing his shipment progression to be a bit worse due to the 8 Shokunu's that were forced. So that's what he achieved. But yes, the population is very, very even at this point.
Yeah. And A's sending 1,000 coin tells me that he has Mamelukes on his mind here.
Yeah, and that's considering he's training Dragoons, I think you're absolutely right. Foregoing the cavalry, which are very good against these Arquebusier that you mentioned. I think Mamelukes, it would make sense.
Yeah, and he's got the shipment available, right? And there it drops down, and there goes his coin plummeting down as well. So
are we going to get the Minutemen pop and the Mameluke pop and the Dragoons and 5 Dragoons from his stable as well, and his Explorer come in, and all of these things? Maybe he can set up the perfect demonstration for unit popping. I want to make a tips and tricks video on that. They are in the works. They'll come eventually, and when they do, they'll come thick and fast. But I just have to start. Once they start, I promise they'll come. But they'll come eventually.
And he's so good at this as well, like these timing pops. Mongo is in such a risky spot here. I do think the town center has a fairly good chance of going down though before the Mamelukes actually get here, which could be pretty deadly.
That particular shipment does take longer to send, doesn't it? Yeah. Though he's retasking onto the stable. No, he's not.
Yeah.
Some Dragoons. Is it go time? Here we go, Mamelukes and Minutemen. Oh no, maybe it was just like, it was probably so close. Or maybe he was buying time with the Dragoons, I don't know. Sadly, the pop does not have 5 Mamelukes, there they are, you can see it was a bit delayed. The pop is not real today, but certainly could have been good. Imagine those Mamelukes on the same side of the town center as the arquebusier, away from the musketeers, away from the cavalry. That would have been good. But Hit losing some villagers, that population graphic not looking very good at the moment. The villager one, that is. And I don't know if Mamelukes count as population. They ought to.
Yeah, they should do. I'm pretty sure they
I think they do, actually, because it looks about right.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, it would have been a really dirty pop had he gotten out. Minutemen, those 9 dragoons, and those Mamelukes, all surrounding everything there at the same time, would have easily cleaned that up. Unfortunately, the town center going down about 15 or 20 seconds too early, and just not able to get the surround that he ideally wanted. Maybe he can still make some magic happen around this town center, which is perhaps going to be the next thing that he's going to have to worry about defending. Although, also creeping his way up north here, maybe just going to try and pick off some reinforcements instead.
Yeah, definitely something to consider.
Oh,
and
he just ran by this. He knows about
there's
this.
a lot of and that's not fully built. That village is, if he can bring the villagers down that are building it, that's exactly what he's aiming for. Doesn't want that garrison place available to him. It is very nearly fully constructed. He could just slam the village down and finish it, but gonna get in the way, perhaps? No, he obviously wants to get away. There's so many units there.
Just getting a little bit caught out here.
Yeah, pulling red back though, buying himself some time, and that is really what he needs. Has lost some villages, so he's not going to be happy about that. But like, it's actually still even despite the big loss. Oh, is he going to sneak his way through? No, he's not. He's going to have to be forced to take that fight, and that's a setback for Aizamk. He wants to be stacking these units up, ready for when he has his nice critical mass, ready for when he wants to head out. He's going to clean this up though. Mameluk's very strong.
Yeah, the musket's out of position. I mean, this is just ranged units in cav, which is actually pretty good for him. So realistically, that wasn't the end of the world for him. And something like 8 Cazadors certainly can still come out as his next turn. The musket's still a little bit out of position here. A little bit concerned about that, but looks like he'll be able to get everything grouped up here now. And
whilst with all of this has been going on, just kiting these Changdayo back, like, ooh, maybe like the control you need to do that if they're following you is you have to pay attention. But picking off lots of Changdayo, not necessarily the right thing to do. Follow your opponent's dragoons around. But should he stop for any amount of time kiting, maybe he pops back to do something to a Vil real quick, then boom, goodbye dragoons.
Yeah. I just quickly clicked on one of Mongo's upgrades as well. Mongo doesn't have very good market upgrades whatsoever here, so only working with that one market upgrade. Looks like he did just get blanket filters worked in there as well, but I mean, similarly, if we take a look at Aze's Vills, I mean, they've already got steel traps and gangsta going for them, so certainly a nice little upgrade advantage in that regard. For Aze, and if you look at the economic unit population, he's starting to pull ahead once again, despite the fact that he did lose that town center in the middle of the map, lost a couple of villagers there as well. So, looking like maybe he might be able to stabilize, but at the same time, the military unit population is very China favored at this point. And
it is absolutely.
This is going to be a difficult hold for Aze.
Yeah, I was just if you flick on over to total resources, the bar at the top above text, above the two bars we're used to, you can flick over to different resources, which is interesting. I was looking at total resources.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, very, very, average income per second. No interjection, this is pointless. Let's take a look at this fight here. Can he make some magic happen under this TC? Minutemen being called, but perhaps it's just a...
Did he see that? It would have been so close with his dragoons.
Yeah, that would be toast, right, if he'd found that. 1,000 wood does arrive. Is that a bit too slow, though? What's he going to use that? It's not... those cords of wood, he needs to, build them into, monsters.
Towers or something, yeah. He is running some interference with his dragoons and his Mamelukes here, which is, I think, making Mongo a little uncomfortable, just due to the fact that, his reinforcements are under a lot of pressure, but speaking of pressure, oh man, that could have been...
Wow,
that still could be so bad.
That's fairly saturated again, that spot. Yeah, didn't notice it, and that's good for him, for Aizamk at least. Perhaps he's not aware of that. These cavs certainly looking for some villagers, going to harass this coin mine by the looks, but A's very aware of where they are, considering his hunt. Back to the north of the map. Musketeers don't have quite the range that Arquebusier do, so not going to be able to punish these dragoons. Aizamk running around, forcing the red units to really be at home, and not really be doing anything productive to Mongo. They want to be developing his side of the board rather than being stuck at home defending from pesky raids. Ooh.
He just keeps inching away there. But at the same time,
he was going to path like through the in between
stuff.
the War Academy and the Consulate or something. Yeah, there is more stuff, and that's exact. Well, to be fair, they're all Arquebusian. He's got some Mamelukes there. Flying Crotas pop out as well. Get out of there, Ace! Go! Run! Is he going to kite?
He's snared by a bunch of stuff now, which is going to make it a little bit more painful. All the while, back at home, there's little cav raids and stuff going on, which are just, starting to dial up the pressure a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's still rough. Look at the military unit population. It's continuing to inflate for Mongo, and Ace is doing his best to try and apply pressure, but he's sacrificing a lot of military unit population at the same time as he's doing that, and as a result it's just starting to get more and more behind, losing a couple more villagers back at home, and I don't know. I don't know how much longer he can keep this up. Sure, he still has the Mamelukes alive, but they're going to have to get in some sort of miracle position. I think there's just plenty of anti-cav and cavalry of his own at this point, and it's just going to be continue to be a difficult hold, despite the fact that he is doing a pretty good job of running around, buying himself some time. I don't think it's going to be quite enough.
Yeah, but Zuta, he has
believe ye of little faith.
It's gonna happen. Let's take a look at units in queue. Sadly, nothing. They're still just running around the map, just pulling red. Is he gonna follow, or is he gonna start sieging the buildings? I think that's absolutely the right thing to do here. Force Aizamk to come and fight him. Force him to, take a fight. Force him to do something. Otherwise, he's gonna tear through his buildings. These military units off red now being productive. Now, achieving what he wants, to giving him a benefit over his opponent here. Gonna force a fight. 67 military unit population compared, with these castadors that have just arrived at his go time. He's gonna slam these units in. Their Changdao coming forward though, and they're gonna do very well against those musketeers. The castador's gonna pick them off. There's not very many left, but still, basically the Mamelukes have gone down as a result of that. Dragoons, there are a few of them, but I don't know.
I don't think there's going to be enough. There are still 2 Mamelukes alive, one at very low HP and one at a decently high HP. But Ace's army split off a little bit. He's actually doing all right here in this fight. Realistically, he's cutting through a lot of these units, but China's still going to get a lot of XP off the back of this.
That monk's being such a pain in the ass.
Yeah, look at that guy, just 1,000. Oh my god!
And and they're so good against castadors, right? He just lets you transform that food into something useful in the battlefield immediately. Yeah, they're not quite as good as other units' disciples, but certainly, they're there they can tank, they can help this fight. Reinforcement time is basically cut because of that, and that monk tanking, so much damage here. And look at the economic potential. A's lost a lot of villagers earlier, he knows that, and at this point, the army is clearly not large enough to fend this off, or the reinforcements from red, perhaps. And that does conclude this game.
Look at his Vil count at 34 seconds as well. That was tough to recover from. It was so close. That was right at the time that the Mamelukes were coming, right? And he had a bunch of villagers in that forward town center, and it went down, and he wasn't able to get this around. And then he was just in such a deep hole from that point moving forward that he was just never able to really dig himself out of. He just couldn't climb out of that hole, and as a result, Mongo ends up just getting this unkillable mass and working his way in. And like you said in that last fight, the Chinese monk. Look at the number of disciples that are here in this fight, and look at the HP of him, and just imagine that he's been taking double that damage just because he's in cover mode, likely, and just all sorts of nasty things happening out of that monk. So good for Mongo. Not going to be a sweep. Is going to bring the score up to 3-1, and lives to see another day in this best of 7.
Another day. The score is 3-1 in favor of Aizamk. More coming up. This is a best of 7. First 4 victories. Will we see the reversal sweep? This is certainly the start. Can Mongo bring it back? The question is that. Don't go anywhere.
There you go. Urashik says in chat it was the brother beatdown of Give You Anxiety versus Soldier.
Yeah. I'll put that one in. If you want to see that one, I'll put that link in there as well. Was that where I start the opening with brother and sister or something like that?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, that was a funny intro. I'll link that one as well. Do check that out if you have time. Of course, lots of videos linked today, and including this Smackdown. But,
The brother beatdown.
I just want to point out some of the best moments from Smackdown for lots of the experienced lots of new subscribers recently, about 4 times as many as usual. So something's going on, something's going right, and I just want to point people in that direction.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think of like what was that? There was that French mirror on Painted Desert. Do you remember that one? Who was it? Was it a Mito A's game? I think it might have been a Mito A's game.
On Painted Desert. Yeah, where they just had CDBs and the game was reset at like 40 minutes.
The end of the game was like 16 CDB versus 14 CDB.
And it could have gone on, right? Like, I think Mito quit because he didn't realise A's was in exactly the same position as he was. Like, no hunts on the map, no mines on the map, just trees, and all they had was like 14 vills each. No resources, no military of any description. Had to build mills and plantations, both of them. The game, like, reset to this weird stalemate period. Oh, if Mito had kept that going, that game was so good.
It was like 30 minutes.
Shall I link that one as well? I'll link
that was a good one. I think that still remains my favorite Smackdown game of all time.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I'm going to write link games. I'm going to make sure I do it. So, game 1, what was that? There was the Koenig Eric vs. A's. The second one, the Brotherly Love.
The Brotherly Love
series. And then there was the Koenig... No, it was Aizamk versus Mito. We had Steve with us at the time, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Right. It was Steve was there with us.
Aizamk versus Mito Steve edition. Sadly, that game is in 480p, but I think
it was still a really good game. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Because I remember Steve was doing Extra Life, and so he was
24-hour live stream. Yeah,
he was doing like his 24-hour live stream event, and we did like Smackdown with him during the course of that. And so it was from his point of view. I think it's in 720, not 480. But yeah, it's not in the greatest. It's not in the highest of quality.
Yeah, there is a 720p version, but it's Steve's camera control, and I think he was preoccupied giving out keys,
codes,
in the chat, so he didn't navigate the screen all that well.
What were some other matchups? Oh, there was that one game. Spain versus Euro on RE patch of A's versus Jurassic, where A's did that insane pop with like the Spain semi FI or something like that, and it looked like he was just dead, and then there was just like the miracle.
Oh, I remember. God, what game was that? It was
on Hudson. It's A's versus Jurassic on Hudson Bay. I remember that one. And Spain versus Euro is the matchup.
A's vs Jurassic on what? Hudson Bay?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I think there was one on Great Plains as well.
The one I'm thinking of, I know, is on Hudson Bay.
Okay. A's vs. Oh yeah, no, I remember that. Yeah, that was the one I want to make it. I was gonna. Yeah.
You're gonna make like a tips and tricks.
Yeah, I was. Oh, we need to do like a. I need to do like a top 10 Smackdowns. That would be. Or best of Smackdown, I think, as my channel trailer or something. That would be cool. Anyway, let's get this underway. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number...
Five?
Yes. Five. Because A's has 3 wins, Mongo has 1, and +1 because this is the... so game number 5. Loading in on Tibet, which uses the Himalayas tile set, as you can see. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel... or to this Twitch, perhaps. This is an ESOC map that I don't think is going to be seeing play yet, or at all in this tournament. I'm not sure if it's being used in the most recent tournament, but made by Gaia, this map, along with a lot of other maps, you probably heard that name, is basically, you're on a mountain. You can see the terrain elevates up towards the top, and that kind of makes sense for Tibet, right? And then you work your way down to the other player. So that's a quick overview of what this map is, and it's very interesting because there's lots of choky choke points. Choky choke points, did I just say that? Right.
Pretty sure you did.
Choky choke points confirmed on Tibet, PogChamp. Alright, 85 wood though does come across. Mongo going to be pretty happy about that, especially because he's India, and the elephant's getting in position to take that. A nice treasure. What does A's come across? Nothing just yet, but we can turn the fog off and see if there's anything nearby. 50 wood. and a 90 wood treasure.
Yeah, it looks like he's just going to drop down the trading post for now, though. But
Oh, hey, no, that sounds like A's. Yep, here we go. As Germany. Well, that would make sense.
it's perfectly standard.
That's actually nothing weird about that at all.
Yep. But like you mentioned, this 85 wood treasure from Mongo is certainly going to be very helpful. India, of course, trains their villagers costing wood, and getting that 85 wood is just going to ease that burden early in the game, which is really going to be nice for him, going to allow him to queue up villagers, get his age up time a little bit quicker as well. So nice little pickup for him there. And it looks like he's also identified this 80 coin treasure, but going to scoot down by that one and continue to explore the map with his 2 elephant explorers.
Yep.
See if he can happen across anything a little bit better.
Yeah, and of course the yaks that are on this map as well. Probably something on his mind, especially considering he is India. Does come across 75 food, and that's certainly something that he can go and get. Looks like he might be heading back in that direction. Both elephants are going that way. Looks like he's going to pick that up. Yak does make its way back to A's, and that was one that probably would have been intercepted otherwise had this food treasure not been discovered. But 75 food, gonna be picking that up, and along with that wood that he found as well, gonna have a very nice age up time, because that wood is funding the villagers. The villagers can go on food sooner because of that, and food is food, and you need food to age up. So there is that.
Yeah. Did you also realize that this treasure he found is a stack of coriander seeds, which is, I believe it's just like a spice, right? Coriander is like a spice used to make chili or something like that.
I wasn't aware that coriander seeds would enhance my food so much that I would be less hungry.
Yeah, but apparently it makes your food so much more delicious that it's like worth almost one whole human being.
Exactly 3/4 of a human being.
Exactly 3/4 of a human being.
Next time you see some
spices.
The coriander seeds, yeah, absolutely.
You can tell all your friends while you're eating chili that the product that they're eating is worth 3/4 of a human being.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I don't know, if you're from India, then it's not quite as an interesting. Or maybe you're Dutch as well. Those comparisons are not quite as accurate.
We're also taught in Age of Empires 3 that it's okay to buy people with money.
This is
Only
true.
if you're Dutch.
Like, here's your salary of 25 gold and 75 food. Off you go. Fight for me until you die.
Yep.
Yeah, musketeers. Yeah, this game is. I guess that's how RTS works. That's just a facet of being a game like that. But this is a placement for his whatever it's called, blockhouse. I always call it a blockhouse.
Yeah, it is. It's just an oversized blockhouse, right?
Blockhouse.
But it's interesting, and I kind of like it. And if you take just into consideration the features of the map so far, he knows the trading post is likely over here, and this placement is going to allow him to immediately rush some damage over to the trading post. So if you take a look at his age up progression, it's already well underway. The 2 sepoi that he's going to get from aging with the Angry Fort, plus potentially any units trained or shipped, also going to be popping out at this Angry Fort as well. And as a result, pretty short rush distance over here. And when you think about Germany and what they usually like to do, how they tend to operate is with fairly Age 3 focused play. And a big part of that Age 3 focused play revolves around getting shipments. And those shipments are, of course, really coming from this trading post. And so if he can apply some pressure to the trading post out of the forwardly positioned Angry Fort, perhaps going to be able to bring that down before Ace is really able to make much use of it, and as a result find himself with a nice little advantage. The one thing that it doesn't really allow, should it be in this position, here in the middle of the map, or even a little bit more maybe defensive, like a position like this, is it doesn't protect his resources as well, doesn't give him as much vision towards Ulan raids. If you take a look at Ulans that are potentially going to be coming from Ace's base straight across the map, they're not going to run into anything that's going to slow them down whatsoever. So potentially opens himself up to a little bit more raids, but at the same time maybe can get down that trading post before it's able to really make much use.
True. I wonder what influence or impact it would have on the game to wall this up. Certainly it is quite easy to wall this very small passage, and if there's a blockhouse, an Angry Fort in the middle, that it becomes very awkward. Maybe that's worth considering as well. But certainly is going to improve the rush distance, as you mentioned. Certainly that trading post is vulnerable, and that's only exacerbated by the wood and food treasures that he found, which makes this style of play more potent, as can get these all of these units out much more easily, certainly consistently, easily, maybe even quicker perhaps. And look at this, he's going to come in and forcing all the villagers inside the town centre, and wait, he did get... That is the marksman.
Yeah.
Aizamk got up. Okay, that's 6 skirmishers.
Yeah, it is 6 skirmishers. He is aging with the slow age up. And he did also send
3 settler
wagons. So he's going to have to chop a lot of wood here.
Especially when that house goes down.
Yeah. Fortunately for him, he does still have, plenty of units in his town center. So he does still... get the full damage value out of it, and just popping out some of the settler wagons. Of course, they do have that added ranged resistance, which is going to make them quite good against these sepoy here as well. Perhaps going to need a little bit more resources, though. Yeah, we can see that he is desperately trying to get up the resources to call Minutemen. If you can take a look at his food total, still a little bit shy there.
Yeah, 2 food. Oh, there it is. Okay, where did he get it from? There must be someone working away.
Yeah, he's got this one guy on this hunt, but he still needs quite a bit more coin.
Yeah, look at that. He's just like gathering for it, and I think at this point, Blue very aware of what's going on. If he doesn't get those Minutemen, he's absolutely boned.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky, and with the positioning of the sepoy, I don't know that he's explicitly going to get it. We do see that one settler wagon has snuck out back.
That was. Is he going to follow it? I think he is. Is that the right decision, though? No, he's just letting these villagers gather. Oh no! But again, taking a lot of fire, and perhaps doesn't want to lose too many units there.
Yeah, I think that's the more important thing. I think he was just realizing he wasn't realistically going to take down the town center, that the villager had snuck out the back, and so either he chases that villager and tries to deny it from gathering, or the villagers slip out the front side of the town center and gather there. So it was going to be too difficult to delegate his military resources in a way that he could deny the age up or deny the Minutemen, and as a result, just ends up backing up. Does lose a few sepoy here, but the age up coming in as well, going to be able to push back all of these units as well.
Yeah, we get age up, 6 skirms that push it back, of course, and the Minutemen there, and I think that's that is really important to make sure they arrive at the same time as the skirmishers. Of course, 4 sours could come in and really punish skirmishers that are on their own, and could still punish him here. Like, Minutemen aren't anti-cavalry, and they're not going to do the best job at getting rid of that. Certainly, this town center are going to be focusing these cavalry and. Does he have a shipment? Yeah. That's the question. It needs to come pretty soon. Otherwise, these 6 skirms he got for aging up slowly are going to be nullified. And at that point, aging up slowly has no benefit to you.
Yeah. I feel like with the way that he's focusing down these sours with his town center and skirms, 8 skirms is the card that's on the way right now. Yeah. So I think we're likely going to be seeing that pop out. Had we seen the skirms continue to focus on killing sepoy and continue to try and deal with the anti-cav, then I think we would have safely assumed that the Ulans are on the way. But having seen, interesting,
3 war wagons, yeah, and 3 Ulans as well. They're still going to push him back, I guess, with the town center fire as well. I mean, war wagon's quite a strong unit. Yeah, I really wanted to just mention Aze's control here with the town center. He was identifying all the low HP units and picking them off absolutely as you ought to be doing, maximize the benefit there. And he managed to pick up those 2 elephants, which were very, very low. And then I was holding down the alt bar and I saw all of the lowest HP units just die one after the other, and it was glorious to see. And I just wanted to point that out. A's very, very good town center control there.
Yep, certainly good control. And now, I mean, oh look, I didn't even see that he had sent Team Teutonic Town Centers, which is basically the colonial militia equivalent for Germany, right? It's does it just give him hit points? I forget.
It's exactly. All action damages by 50%, and Town Center gets 30% hit points as well for the entire team. So everyone on the red team got their bonus.
It's actually pretty disgusting how good that is.
That is good, yeah. I guess the issue with it is you don't really want to be in a position where people are sieging town centers, and that would actually be useful. But in this 1v1 focused, good card, did manage to keep his town center alive, and it could have been to a large extent why the opponent earlier was not continuing to siege there. It had 30 extra hit points, was doing a ton of damage. Maybe identified that and was like, oh god, that's That's not something I want to be doing, and gotten out of there, and you know, that's how the game's progressed since then. Cavalry coming in, lots of villages nearby, 3 Gardener Hussars coming out from the Ottoman consulate, arriving, of course, at the old, well, over there, and are going to force these away, but not before these war wagons get in here and absolutely decimate these Hussars there.
Yeah, and this is the position where it's a bit awkward with his Agrifort placement as well, right? This is, if you recall the locations that I pinged for potential Agriforts at the start of the game, and this was essentially one of them. And we can all of a sudden see, you know, this is getting to be a little bit awkward to defend. Sure, he's got, you know, enough military units that it looks like he's going to hold for now, but I mean, with the next shipment, it's almost certainly going to come with Germany because the TP didn't fall. This is just going to get more and more difficult to defend, especially as the skirm counts continue to build. The cavalry continue to raid around, and the resources on this map just continue to get spread that much more thin. It's going to get more and more awkward to adequately defend these resource locations.
these war wagons just roaming around. Oh god, oh no, they're red skirms, that's fine, everything's good. I saw skirms and I was like, oh no. Yeah. Now that these skirms are here as well, it's going to continue just walking around, harassing villages here and there. Look, forced to move these villages to a different hunt location. And, look at them all on the berries as well. It's just all crowded up. He's doing what he needs to do to keep his opponent, like, on his toes.
Yeah, and here come the big reinforcements, which is going to be really difficult to deal with. He doesn't have a ton of units that are going to be overly well equipped in dealing with these skirmishers, and with the 3 extra Ulans coming in here to deal with the Gurkha as well. Yeah, this is going to be really difficult. And
sour pop though, good against the skirmishers, and the war wagons have disappeared. This is a nice tempo swing for him. That's exactly what he needs to be countering
precisely what he needed. Yeah. Going to at least buy him a little bit more time. We can see all the villagers shifted down here to the south side of the map to be able to continue to gather, and was able to clean up all those skirmishers. So realistically, when all is said and done, economic unit population in Mongo's favor. He is not aged up, and is realistically nowhere close to being able to age up. But truthfully, India doesn't need to age up at this point in the game. He's got pretty strong units in the second age. His economy is better, and he's survived some of the scary stuff that Germany can throw at him. He's adequately dealt with 3 big shipments, 3 war wagons, 8 skirm, 7 skirm are all gone. Certainly there are still 9 Ulan, 8 Ulan available to be sent, but when you're making Sepoy and Sour, that's not as scary of a prospect in dealing with, and his economy isn't that great at the present time, and India's economy is great. He's 10 economic unit population ahead. He's got the 2 trickles, and I believe he's got pretty good market upgrades too. Yeah, look at his market upgrades. Imperial Bureaucracy, Hunting Eagles, Blanket Filters, all working for him right now, so pretty good economy for the India player as well.
Oh, those war wagons are not happy. I mean, yes, cavalry are good against them, but they're not dragoons. They find it hard to escape, and being snared by cavalry so the Gurkhas can just clean them up. That is not what you want. 750 resources are just completely nullified there, and what he was trying to do, of course, was try and raid these villages, edge back some sort of potential, but actually just really not paying off at all. Absolutely the worst outcome, losing those, and not going to be happy with that. As you I love how you mentioned earlier with the India doesn't need to age up. Well, they already have skirmishers and dragoons in age 2.
That's true. Yeah.
No problem.
That's a big part of why they don't need to age up. I mean, most civilizations, in order to unlock that technology, do need to age up, but India kind of unique in the sense that they don't, and as a result, just going to be able to make Zams and Gurkhas as is and be able to deal with it. Now, there are these 9 Ulans out running around the map and potentially could run some interference, but it looks like he's just going to be forced to bring them back home.
He's going to have to. Look, all of these villages on the gold mine there, not nearly enough. Just 4 cav there really defending, and these villages quite threatened. The cav do come back, and of course the Zambrak's going to be good against them, going to kite back. Lots of DPS though. These are very, very high damaging units. Looks like the villagers are going to get involved as well, use them to sponge some HP. And he has enough units to sort of push this back.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be okay, and I mean, certainly the Ulans with their high HP, when they're allowed to just stand there and attack stuff, due to a very good job of punishing all sorts of military units. And, well, it looks like he's been able to swing it back in his favor once again. And, you know, the other scary thing about Ulans is when they stumble across patches of villagers like this, they make very quick work of them.
And look at that villager count, very favor in blue, but not for long. This is exactly what he wants. And this game has been rather back and forth in terms of, like, tempo and in terms of, like, military unit pops, you know, with exactly the right units you need to finish off the enemy's army in a big way, happening a few times this game, and punishing these villagers for that. Still in blue's favour, yes, very much in favour of red in terms of military, so we'll have to see what he can make happen, if he can lever that advantage to his benefit, and certainly he's going to have to do that, and he's going to have to do it in a big way, because 34 villagers compared to 28 is, well, I suppose it's not that many, but it certainly, you know, is going to cause problematic. He's in the fortress age though, and that's to his merit.
And here's the last scary shipment, eight Ulans, right? If he can navigate his way around this, he's making Zams. He knows that if he's been counting the shipments, he'll know that, you know, that big batch of cavalry probably represents the last scary shipment that he's going to have to deal with. And if he can effectively push that back, Germany is kind of at the end of the steam that they have in the Third Age. And if you look at the economic unit population, like you mentioned, yes, the gap has closed slightly, but India is still in favor and does still have the wood trickle cards going for him as well. So should he be able to push back these Ulans, keep the remaining villagers he does have safe, he should be in a decent position to continue to recover and continue to build up a favorable army composition. Now, the thing is, he still has to deal with these annoying little raids like this, and this is still something that could absolutely wreck his day.
Yeah, whilst this is running around, you know, that military unit population for blue might not be getting any larger because of these random villager kills that just keep happening here and there with the Ulans, you know, forcing these Zambaraks to come back and deal with that. Yeah, and they're going to clean them up, but not before he picks up that last villager.
Oh,
Nicely done. Any other low HP ones that he can final hit? No, it does bring them both down. Desert Terror does arrive for the blue player. So going to be stacking these late game upgrades. Already has that camel attack going as well. So, you know, whilst red is sort of running out of steam with these big shipments that have been keeping him afloat, blue is, you know, sitting on a slightly high economic population. Certainly is getting more and more close to even as this game goes with these raids, but he's starting to send these late game upgrades, which are really going to stack for the rest of the game, and really going to keep giving, keep giving back, keep paying dividends. You know, the tempo you get from the shipments is going to dry up, and Germany, yes, he's in the fortress age, but is it going to be enough?
Yeah, and look at how thinly spread Mongo is as well. He's very aware of the fact that the cavalry raids are a real thing. He's spread out over here with some anti-cav. We can see he's desperately defending this position in the backside of his map. And this is a position that I'd love to see Ace just ship 1,000 wood and drop down to TC pretty aggressively somewhere out here, because just the threat of the Ulans is keeping Mongo really, really defensively penned up. And I think this is his time to really kind of start clawing his way back to even, and then eventually ahead in terms of economic unit population. And we'll see if that happens with 1,000 wood shipment here next. Or perhaps you'll just see the move out of all the anti-cavalry units and just go for another big raid with all of his Ulans.
That's painful. All of that work he did with the Ulans going to be...
Black Riders.
Black Rider pop.
Yeah, here they come.
But not before he loses those vills. Ugh.
Yeah.
Is it enough?
I don't. It's going to be tough. There are a lot of Zams, and they are very upgraded. I mean, there's Camel Attack and Desert Terror on these Zams, so the Ulans aren't very much of a threat. And realistically, the only true threat here is the Black Riders, which are pretty strong, but
very weak to Gurkhas.
Yeah, I think there's going to be enough to deal with them, and Ace is just kind of running out of steam. His shipment progression has kind of come to an end. And I think India has stabilized enough that he no longer has to worry about Ulans running around the map, and this is the point where now he's going to be able to just kind of move out and really start to continue to ramp up the pressure.
Yeah, I'm surprised he did continue to fight that. Yes, these Zambaraks have done some work, but the Black Rider's ultimately going to still win there. I thought perhaps he'd drop back and a couple Gurkhas in there. Those Black Riders really not going to be too good there, but it does take up like so many villages for Ace has gone down. Like in the meantime, whilst that fight was going on, of course these blue units that are now fighting wait, hold on. Yeah, they were down there killing these villagers.
Yeah,
And,
they were.
It's really not looking good. Red ahead in both in two different ways now. If you look at that graph in the top left.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit awkward, but I don't know. It's going to be really tough for him to ever get any sort of raiding pressure back out on the map, which is really what he needs to do. Look at how exposed Mongo is over here on like this coin mine, and how exposed, like even 4 villagers over here gathering on this hunt, completely exposed. There's nothing. If a single Ulan were to run over there, all 4 of those villagers are dead. And the unfortunate thing is he's probably going to never get that pressure back now that he's lost that big mass of Ulans, doesn't have the reinforcing batches to come from his town center from shipments, and going to try and make something happen with these black riders running around. But Mongo's out and about on the map, committing shenanigans of his own, and it's going to be really hard for Ace to get back into back onto the map in a way that Germany really wants to get out there.
Yeah. Resources, though, there's still enough of them. Coin mines looking good. Hunts. I guess that at this point, is very, very soon going to be a fight for those locations. At this point, they've still got relatively safe mines and hunts in near their base. But let's take a look at Ace. That mine in the back there, 700 coin remaining. And his next mines are, much further out on a limb. He's going to be far away from him. He's going to have. The point is, he's going to have military presence to defend those locations. And it's like if you don't have it, you always have to have enough units to be able to defend. It's not like you can just drop back to your town center and wait for the next shipment or call some Minutemen. And I think when we move into that portion of the game, Blue is going to be in quite a favorable position.
Yeah, there's another mercenary shipment on the way. I don't know if you saw, but A's had 21 villagers on coin and no one gathering food, and just dropped 1,000 coin into something. So likely going to be seeing Jaegers come out here as his next card. And should the Jaegers, be unsuccessful in essentially winning him the game, I think he's going to be in too far lost of a position to realistically recover.
Yeah, I think you're right with that statement. They're going to have to win him the game. Look at that economic population. That Hessian Jaegers, I should say, have arrived. And these have to force this army back, but also do something to it in such a way that he's going to be able to start harassing enemy blue villages. Because yes, he's forced this back. He doesn't want to stay there with the Jaegers, but it's still not looking like Blue's just happy to just do whatever he wants now. He's like, you come to me, I'll just sit here and do what I want. I'm happy with that. He knows he's killed a lot of villagers, and he's gonna be happy about that because of that.
Yeah, I mean, look at the economic unit population. It's not improving. The military unit population, yes, is in Ace's favor because of the Jaeger pop that just has come out, but he has to fight, and he has to fight now, and he has to have a really good fight. This is also going to help him if you can pick up some more villagers here in the process.
He needs to even up that economic count. That's exactly what he's doing here. But this is where he's going to have to get involved. But the Sours, yes, Jaegers are strong, but Sours are cavalry, and that's exactly what they're weak to. There's enough cav there to swamp them, and is really going to make them not too effective. And there's plenty of blue units providing fire on these black riders. And that, I think, is the end of the game there. These mercenary shipments, yes, they're strong, but we're not enough. They're out of steam. That's it.
He's out of steam, and we can see it. He's out of steam in a bad way. He doesn't have really that many resources left. He's struggling to really find any more coin mines. The last coin mine there to the, this interjection would say south right of his base.
The south right.
is almost out. And I think when we see these last couple of Jaegers go down, we're going to see a resign, and at that point, Mongo will have picked up his second win. Certainly, if this wasn't nail in the coffin, I don't know what is. Not only are you being pulled apart from your army on the left side, but you're also going to lose basically all of your remaining economic coin mining units on the right side of your base as well.
Yeah,
so.
It does have a counter raid there. He's going to bring the Olans in to clean this up, but I'm surprised he was able to find any units really to do that. 1,000 coin, by the looks of it, has arrived. I'm actually going to have to scroll up a bit further to see what all these shipments are. So many late game upgrades arriving that are going to last permanently for India. 1,000 coin here, and again, this has to win him the game in the same way that the Jaegers do. But I don't know. You can throw money at them, but that's not going to work as quite as effectively as the Jaegers.
I don't know how you convert 1,000 coin into a win at this point. 5 war wagons.
Wow,
I mean,
yeah, he's a lot of war
gonna
wagons.
help, but here come. I mean, just more units harassing his coin mine once again.
Yeah. Rajputs.
the old Rajput harass.
The whole Rajput raid, classic 25-minute staple.
Another thing I want to point out is just look at the vision on the map. Look at where Mongo is. He's just everywhere. He knows basically everything about the map at this point. He's got full vision of the map. He knows that there's realistically no coin mines left for A's. The only place that A's could really potentially be gathering is like back in a location like this, but I don't think Mongo's too worried about that at this point. I actually don't know what's keeping A's from resigning here. Maybe he thinks these 2 Ulans are going to have some sort of miracle raid for him or something like that. But at this point, we're just waiting for the GG. This game is well over. Maybe he's got a cute shipment or something.
What does he have? No units in queue. He does have some Ulans have just been created. Yeah, 5 Ulans are coming out there. Maybe he does have some sort of shipment coming available. He sent all the mercenary shipments, and the big 4 have gone. I guess now he's onto that 1,000 coin.
I mean, what else is there? Maybe 5 Doppelson or something like that is realistic.
Silos.
That's by Mongo though.
Yeah.
Let's see what A's does.
Not food silos.
No, not food silos.
Because that would have to win him the game in the same way as the coin. I can't see food silos doing that.
For all your mills. Mongo does have his military is really spread out. This would be a point where I'd like to see him use all military hotkey and just get everything grouped up. Because if he just got everything grouped up into one position, he would easily be able to deal with these little skirmishes much easier. But it looks like it's not going to matter. 1,000 wood, similarly, not going to win the game. Maybe Ace is just getting a cup of coffee at this point. He's just queued up a couple shipments and instead of resigning the game, he's just gone to get a cup of coffee until. Although that can't be true.
I don't know
he's
why.
Just popped the villager out of his town center.
That reminds me of this time Ace actually literally did play against himself in an OBS map. In one of his early days OBS maps, it was possible to play as player 1 and 2 simultaneously. And what he would do is be player 1 and then switch to player 2 and play the game as player 2 and then switch back to player 1 and try and maybe raid himself, and he wouldn't respond to the raid until his other self
would switch to the other side.
And nobody noticed until 5 minutes in or something. It's
there it is. There's the GG.
Yeah. I think the GG hasn't been called because A's hasn't been given a reason to quit. There's no units been on top of his town center, and literally, because until at that point, until his villagers can't continue gathering, he is out. He's not out, sorry. And now that these units have arrived, that does spell the end of the game, and ending a 28-minute game. So by my definition, that's a pretty good one. But I think it ended about 25 minutes in.
Yeah, it's realistically been over ever since the Jaegers failed to basically win him the game. But it was very close up to then. If you would have been able to try and get just a few more raids there, I mean, there was that situation when the 9 Ulans were creeping around the north side of the map, and he was forced to bring them back to defend the coin mine on the left of his town center, and they were on a collision course to run into about 15 villagers of Mongos down on the 9 o'clock position in the map. Had he just continued to run down that way and gotten that huge raid off, economic units would have evened up significantly closer after that point, and it might have been a different story because, I mean, eventually, probably the Black Riders still eventually come, the 8 Ulans probably still come, maybe he can sneak in the Jaegers still, the crates can come at some point, and perhaps could have gotten into a situation where he was able to even things up a little bit closer economically. But Mongo, his Econ was always far ahead. I mean, look at the resources gathered in this game, 42,000 to 21,000. He was always miles ahead in economy, and that was the saving grace, to be perfectly honest, in this game.
Yeah, and that is the end of the game. So the score is now 3-2, and this is potentially setting up
For the reverse sweep, yeah.
Sadly, on match point, you did win that game. Now 2 games in, can he make it a third? The question. Don't go anywhere. Right, you're good.
We're good. We're back in the hood.
Good.
I picked Yukon's the next map.
All right, can we take a quick break? I just want to grab a drink.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
You go grab your beverage.
All right, I'll be back.
And it looks like Interjection is back in the mix.
Yeah, I had to go and make a cup of tea. I was losing concentration towards the end, and tea always seems to bring me.
Starting to fall asleep.
I think it's because I've been casting the Chronicle tournament earlier as well. Like,
Yeah.
it really is demanding on them to cast. Like, I think like you carried that last one. I was just losing focus. I felt like all of my comments were just like, oh, the military population graph. Oh, the population.
Let's look at this picture and let me go to bed.
There we go. So we had a bit of a delay there. Those of you watching the video who conveniently don't have to experience that. Though if Zuta said anything interesting, I'm sure I'll edit that in. Yeah, Yukon, next to Northwest Territories by that look. Which is relevant to earlier, I suppose. Spawning in the north of the map in the colour red, we do have Mongo10 playing as indeed the Russians. One wood crate there, and otherwise everything else is food. Yeah, absolutely. There is certainly that. Let's take Control Shift F off and take a look at the treasures nearby. Gonna pick up 40 coins, a large amount of coin, but gonna be running into 90 food. It's a guy guarded by far too many outlaws. 8 EXP. I think it's worth taking a look at these. It can often be a point of contention, and this map is, obviously the main feature of this map is this big side of the map where you can find lots of sort of treasures. Looks like the rickshaw they're going to be doing some scouting as well. I wonder if he has Polar Explorer in his deck. Let's take a look. Well, he doesn't have a deck yet, of course he wouldn't have selected it. Yeah. But that's Russia for you. Looks like he's going to start the game by picking up 80 XP. Certainly going to get that first shipment on the way, and that's going to be quite nice for him. Blue, on the other hand, as Japan, by the looks of it, in the south of the map, in the colour blue, there he is going to... clearly hasn't seen... He's heading in the direction of that 80 XP, which has now been picked up. Obviously didn't know it was there, because he hasn't gotten that far across the... Oh, crap. Nope, we're good. Okay.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, that would do something to my recorder. What are we going to see fights over? The question.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious about what Aze is going to do here just in general. We can see that he's just chopped wood for a second shrine, electing to just build 2 shrines outright with the start of this, at the start of this
consulate. Game. That's an interesting thing to point out.
Yeah, and one other thing that I noticed, I was peeking around at his deck before the start of this, and he has this Yukon-specific deck, does Aze with Japan, that has Mountain Warrior in it, which effectively makes his monks very good in Explorer combat, and also makes it so any treasures that he finds are increased quite significantly in value. So I'm curious to see whether or not he will send that as his first card. Yeah,
Monk attack and hit points increase. Japanese monks get greater resource rewards. How much exactly? It doesn't say.
I think it's like 50%. So like if you were to get like 100 coin treasure or something, it turns into like look at he's sent it as well.
Yeah, and
it's pretty good, and it actually makes it so like killing a treasure like this is definitely possible. Like he could straight up get that 300 coin treasure with his 2 monks.
Oh, 1 monk.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they'll get it with 1, but...
Polar Explorer coming in here, and not going to be getting it. And I say Polar Explorer, not because he's Russian, but because, of course, he has sent Polar Explorer. Both players committing to these increased monk and Explorer hit point / attack
Look,
cards.
it's just... it's double.
100... Double?
Yeah, because it's a 90 coin treasure, right?
100 coin from a muskrat treasure! Good God! Whoa. That is... Okay, so I've not actually seen this card played before. Honestly, is my awareness of his existence was not there. At 300 coin, that's a 600 coin treasure, should he go and get that later on in the game. Sadly, though, up against Russia with his War Dog, so the effectiveness of this treasure bonus is going to be lessened in the sense because, both people are super experienced in there.
Could you imagine if he got this treasure and this treasure? He would have like 1,000 coin in bank after picking over 1,000 coin in bank after picking those up. Unfortunately, though, it looks like Mongo's going to be able to pick the 150 coin treasure.
True, and that's a facet of having that War Dog and the improved whatever it is stats on there. But definitely a crazy card there. But the question is it better than a Heavenly Kami combined with the Shogunate Shrine and the Portuguese Consulate? Because that's effectively what that cost him here. He chose to perhaps play because he didn't have the Heavenly Kami on the way. And perhaps not worth getting the consulate upgrade, the Portuguese, to make the shrines cheaper. That's why I built them outright. Now the question is, how much will that pay back in the long term? And yes, we saw a crazy amount of coin come out of these treasures, but he's not on the other side of the map anymore, and these treasures are getting collected up quick by this Russian. So we'll have to see. Though 60 coin coming out of this.
Even the freebies turn into like just insane treasures with this, and he's aging up with the Torii Gates. This could be
80 wood treasure over there. Yeah, go. Torii Gates.
This could be really dangerous because that samurai is going to come out of here, and these villagers, I don't think they've explicitly been spotted, but likely the samurai that's going to come from the Torii Gates is going to start working its way across the middle of the map.
Yeah.
And when he does so, if he finds that constructing, he could easily just put a beat down on that blockhouse before it even gets up.
He is a monstrous pikeman. 200 resources. Yeah, no, slightly to the thing is that thing has awful line of sight. But if he's paying attention, he might be looking for that blockhouse placement. But
he's got eyes on that.
He needs the samurai for that. That makes sense, right? This whole build makes sense because this extra unit is going, has a lot of hit points, and it's going to be useful for doing that extra damage. And it is area damage, which is quite useful against treasure guardians. But I think if he maybe he sends. It's too late now. That's basically fully built. But this villager is scouting the blockhouse. Had he seen that, I think he would have absolutely started sieging it. But didn't come across that there. But 600 coin. Like, that is so big.
Yeah. It's going to get spotted out here.
Yeah, it could be stolen. And he kind of has to get it. I think he's probably accounted for this coin in his build order. Actually hasn't yet, but...
I don't know. I'm not sure if he's, like, FFing off of it or if he's just going to play aggressive. I mean, he's got Ashley's already training, so... I think
here we go. He's going to take it. Is it? No. Wait.
He got it.
Yeah, he got it.
So sad.
600 coin! What the Jesus Christ? That's like a whole card.
Yeah, it's like.
I mean, granted, it was half a card to begin with, but
unbelievable.
Huge treasures.
Look at that, and he's going to claim his territory by throwing up a shrine on no hunts.
Well, he needed the population slots by the looks of it.
Oh man,
he's going to slam that down, even if there isn't any hunts nearby. Yeah.
He just doesn't need anything on. He just doesn't need anything on coin. He literally hasn't gathered, I don't think, a single bit of coin. He's gathered like 46 coins so far this game.
Has trained a batch of 5 samurai. That's neat. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, yes, you've got extra coin and you can do that, but honestly, I was expecting that coin to just sit in bank until it was needed, whilst all the villagers gathered food and be spending it on the more traditional Ashigaru musketeer, which he does have. But these samurai going to be very, very good versus this structure here. Could just tear it down, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Ooh.
See ya.
Sit down. Denied. But is it worth taking this? I guess it is. Only 5 musks, and those cavalry aren't going to stay anywhere near him, considering they are cavalry and samurais. Yeah, just gonna clean those musks up. Not often do you see samurais in play.
No, in fact, very infrequently do you see them getting any play whatsoever. Yeah. And usually it's just in like super late game when you've got a whole bunch of cards in them for them in like a team game. You almost never see them in 1v1, and almost certainly never see them before the 10-minute mark in the game. Yeah.
And that's because the same reason as halberdiers, right? The reason you don't see those in play. They're very slow-moving units that are easy to pick off, and it's very easy for the units that samurai are good against, basically cavalry, to just get away from them, and completely nullifies the point. point, I suppose, as they'll just get picked off, and they are very expensive units. But here, keeping that musketeer count very, very low, and, you know, with this many samurais and considering the area damage, like, think of Doppelson as a very similar unit there, and it's very strong. They're still strong units especially in these kind of small numbers. Strelets do come into play, and and the Minutemen as well. Will make these samurai less effective, and you can see on the back foot as he's trying to escape there, does lose quite the number of resources in terms of value, but
yeah, but still, it's okay. I mean, he's dealt with 2 blockhouses at this point. He's killing loads of musketeers, and truthfully, he's just pushing back his opponent so that he doesn't have to deal with him in his base. I mean, Japan's worst nightmare in this matchup, right, is just having a ton of infantry and Cossack shipments and stuff standing on top of your eco, and that's just not what's happening. So that in itself is a win. But at the same time, I mean, Russia's still not in any too big of a danger at this point. I mean, A's still doesn't have very standard things like a market. His consulate is just now coming up, so hasn't sent 600 wood yet. His economy is still pretty fragile, and as a result of that, it's not like he's this isn't normal 9-minute Japan, right?
There's no shrines backing this up. It's not like the same power level you'd expect from Japan in terms of unit output and resource income. That doesn't exist. He spent his early game on instead that Explorer card, and yes, it was really, really big to see these 600 coin drops, but in reality, what he paid for that was not having Heavenly Kami, not being the Japan that we all are used to.
You know what I just saw? Poor Fluffy's still back here, dead in the ice.
Oh, poor Fluffy. Dude, would he get from this treasure here? Would he get effectively 1,000 XP?
Yeah.
Wow.
Ridiculous. 960 XP. Can you imagine? You just get like 2 shipments, like straight outright.
It is worth pointing out that, he does have the Torii Gates working for him, which, is not the Shogunate Shrine, not the regular bonus, but certainly that extra XP, is going to be useful in terms of the shipments he's going to be getting here. Not if he loses all these units, which is really what we'll be getting, or making that XP. But certainly, with that Daimyo out, could be not in such a bad spot.
Yeah, I think it'd be
strong.
He needs to crash everything together here. I think he's training a few more units out of Daimyo Mototada, and once those units get trained, I think he's lured his opponent into a position where he's going to feel comfortable just trying to engage here in the trees. We can see 3 Nagis flanking in from the left side. I suspect that the Daimyo and a few more cav will join them as soon as they're finished, but looks like they're not going to just be here just in time, and he's going to get kind of punished for retreating here at this point.
Yeah, that's not too good. He's stuck out in there. He lost a lot of units. You're trying to get that far, and these cav aren't going to be too effective. Well, to be fair, there's a lot of Strelets there. He could just slam everything in.
Yeah, only 8 muskets. He's got 3 clubs coming together here. He also has these 3 samurais as well, which are pretty good in this situation. Plus, he does have the daimyo, which is buffing everything up, which is certainly making the power differential between these armies even more relevant.
True, and obviously a very strong cavalry unit as well, which is definitely adding to the damage there. Certainly probably didn't want to lose as many units as he did in that sort of location where he was on the edge of the map, on the edge of the world, I suppose, near the blackness. But, well, it sounds like something from Game of Thrones, that.
The blackness. The edge of the world, the blackness.
Yeah, but he did manage to clean that up. Certainly the daimyo and the extra cavalry that he got out of that's effectively a stable that he just chipped as well. It's actually worth pointing out that guy's infrastructure.
Yep. And now the market has come here as well. No market upgrades just yet, but does have the structure out, so he's going to be able to start to get his econ units ramping up a little bit here. We can see the eco population basically bang on even at this point, even with the calculator turned on. So
and he does have some shrines as well, of course, and that is absolutely worth pointing out. Oh, you meant with it turned on, okay.
Yeah, with it turned on.
I forget that it now adds...
it calculates those shrines in. But I mean, 5 Yumis coming forward here, a couple more clubs as well. This could be another kind of scary, difficult to deal with power spike.
Look at that, going to pick up some villages as well, going to make that economy differential go even more in favour of himself. The Musketeers, are going to fend this off, but not before he loses 3, 4, perhaps even 5 villages. No, just 4 by the looks of it. It does get on out of there, and I think with this, wait, oh, never mind. 5 Yumi archers already arrived a while ago. Yeah. Is this go time?
Yeah, I think Japan is fine with being in this position. The one thing we do have to remember is he is still Japan, right? I mean, he just like Brits, right? Even when Brits is playing low economy, they just to build houses to continue to train units. By default, the longer the game goes, the higher the military populations get, the more houses they train, their economy just gets better. Sure, like we've mentioned before, these are not the normal, super backed up shrines with, cards and upgrades and stuff like that, but they are still shrines. They are still giving him, small trickles of resources. I mean, taking a look at these shrines in the middle, still getting 0.38 coin per second out of these. So the higher the military populations get, just by default, Japan's army gets a little. Japan as a civilization gets a little bit more eco presence out of that. So plus he is still benefiting from having the stronger units and having the daimyo out here as well. So despite the fact that he has shipped a lot of military units, has played fairly low economy. It's not like Russia's economy is like super strong or well off at this point as a result.
That's true. And is he looking for a fight here, or does he just sit on his location and protect the resources that are nearby? If we turn Control-Shift-F off, we can see that there aren't any random hunts just sitting under that blackness, and Red really is in dire straits for his next food. You can suddenly see, like, there are idle villagers near the food, and certainly the ones gathering will be idle fairly soon. It does look like he's looking for a fight, but certainly could just wait him out.
Yeah, and this is going pretty good. He soaked a lot of damage with the daimyo. The Yumis are sitting in the back, have not been threatened by the Cossacks just yet. And now pretty soon it's going to be just, a couple of Yumis left against a couple of unupgraded musketeers. And certainly we all know how that goes. And I mean, like you mentioned, there's not a lot of resources left. It looks like Mongo's in a pretty tough situation here.
And should this down as well?
And the blockhouse is going to go down, and all of a sudden, his infrastructure is starting to fall apart a little bit. His economy is slowly starting to fall behind a little bit, and Japan is still being Japan, and he still has. I mean, the stats of Ashigara Musketeers changed nothing with this build, and as the counts of Ashigara Musketeers continues to go upwards and continues to get stronger, the stronger and scarier this army continues to get as well.
Yeah, that's true. And now Red is out of food. He's gathering wood. Looks like he's going to try and lay down that next blockhouse in the back there. But with 1,000 food in bank, which he's just spent basically all of it, I guess he's okay for the time being. You can see that food appears to be spent on cavalry by the looks of it. But no new food, and he's going to have to push out to get it. This push here, this army here that Red has to earn him another food gathering spot. Otherwise, this game is over.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, I'm going to turn off the fog here. There's no food up here to the top.
And he's looking for it desperately. He's going to go for this one over here.
He's got to go all the way over here, which is rough.
It's exposed, isn't it? Like, it's absolutely the place to go, because, you can't really grab this one. Japan's standing on top of it. So, absolutely understand this location. But it's, the military migrating that way, and now, like, suddenly this base becomes, it's awkwardly quite far away from everything else. The ZutaZuta box theory is not impressed at the moment.
Yeah, and plus he's going to have full vision. Like, this shrine should be spotting this blockhouse going up as well. So he has two options here. He can either go over there and challenge that spot,
slam down in the back stable,
or be happy knowing, like, hey, my opponent's got all of his eggs in this basket over here trying to defend this location. I'm just going to go and kill everything in his base. And there still is a lot of value in killing all this stuff in the base. You can kill the stable. So many houses, which are going to be difficult to reproduce. And look at the villagers, still in this town center, 12 in the town center, and probably another 12 in the back as well. So there's still 20 plus villagers here in base that are fairly exposed with the lack of army here as well.
Russian army is forced to come back to defend, but not before a couple houses are taken down. And now the villagers are exposed, and does Ace have anything? He's got these two Naganetas on standby. Perhaps they'll go in and do some raiding, but can't be in two places at once. And yes, he's not being raided there at the moment, but certainly is likely to be soon. Does have the blockhouses nearby to gather, to put them in. At this point, Russia's still in it. He's, has food gathering location. He's still gathering resources. Still has a standing army. But if you could, 47 villages is more than 41, obviously, and it is in favor of Japan. But Russia by no means out just yet. We shall hold on a moment. Units in queue. Shinobi no mono.
Yeah, they're the archer unit that comes out of the consulate. Another quick thing I wanted to point out is it looks like messed up his shipment progression here a little bit. Wasn't maybe paying attention to his orchard rickshaws, and just now sending orchards. But if you take a look at his food, he's been in a very sad state in terms of resources here for the past minute or so.
That's true.
And as a result, his army hasn't really grown very much as a result of that. So it does have the orchards done now. We'll be able to transition some villagers back over to those to begin gathering some food again. But maybe a little bit of a mistake there allows Mongo to, continue to gather these resources here up to the north of the map. And with that steel traps upgrade that he does have and has had for most of the game, is still going to give him, quite a good income of food and, start to buy him some time to build back an army to be able to deal with what Japan currently has.
Yeah, you're right. Food running out again. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the catch-22 of working with steel traps, right? Is that that you do tear through the food fairly quickly. I mean, sure, it makes your eco pretty good, but I mean, now let's look at the next location that he's got to defend, here or here. I mean, both of those feel like a stretch at this point, right? I mean,
they absolutely require you to fight for it. I mean, the one he's gathering from now was cheeky in the sense that Japan just didn't have control over that region. And, could just go over there. But, he looks like the reasonable-sized army there. Boyers has arrived. These units are looking pretty good. He's, got more military unit population than his opponent now. Yes, Russian units aren't quite as good, but...
he's even going to be building a mill back here at home.
Yeah,
looks like.
I guess he is, that's true, but it's not going to stand for long. Here comes the blue. Blue just going to walk in here and force a fight by the looks of it.
Yeah, and everything just piling on. It looks like he's just going to pile on top of the town center and just try and siege it down, though. There are 23 villagers inside
Perhaps he
of that.
thinks his opponent's aging. Maybe that's...
Yeah. Though he's seen the army posturing around to the left. It could also just be, that he thinks he has an opportunity to charge in here and deal some damage, which he absolutely does have the chance to do. And it looks like he even saw a bunch of these villagers, I think, scoot down out to the south side of the base as well. So maybe he just wants to try and track those down.
He absolutely, there they are, he's going to find them there. And he absolutely saw the large army destroying his shrine that was up in that location on the map. Ashigari Musketeers, by the looks of it, cheekily going to come in and raid.
Yes, cute little raid over there.
While in the midst of all this fighting. But, this fight, I think, is, Russian favored, considering Strelitz.
This is the kind of fight that Russia wants to be taken. Certainly.
Daimyo in the back looks like he's going to get sniped. Can't move due to units being, I think, queued, but now unqueued. Daimyo does go down, and worth pointing out that that's a big loss for him. There's that aura it gives for stats.
Not something he's ever going to get back. Yeah. Ashy attack coming in now here, just a little bit late to the fight. He is killing quite a few villagers back up here, which is significant. Especially due to the fact that he did scoot out with a bunch of his army, but this is really hard for Mongo, because we still mention, Mongo, being the European civilization, has to find somewhere to gather food from, and now not only does he have to find somewhere to gather food from, but now once he does secure a location to gather food from, he doesn't really have the villagers remaining that he needs to actually gather the food, so it's a little bit awkward.
We did it. We got hunt locations. Oh wait, no villagers.
Oh wait, we're all dead.
Yeah, I wonder if these Kree settlements will become useful. I know that there's Kree Tanners in there, which is pretty good. What does it do? I can't remember. Light infantry changes hit points. Infantry and cavalry change hit points by 5%. I guess it's okay. It's 100 of each. Yeah, and their buildings change wood cost by minus 25%. Oh, that would have been a nice one to grab before slamming down these mills.
Yeah.
I guess it takes the game knowledge to know that they're actually in there. And Kree tracking, which changes the build limit of the unit that you won't train by 50%. So, yeah, there is that. Does commit to the mills, though. I guess he had the wood floating around, considering, or was it good? I don't know. What do you think of that? Is it a good idea to start investing in mills? He's going to need them sooner or later, but there's still a number of hunts left on the map, and I feel like he does have a reasonable army to go and grab it with.
Yeah, I mean, he realistically should have really started to fight for this location. I feel like he has the blockhouses over there. He could have just continued to move his army up. Building these mills it feels like just such a huge investment with such a low return on the investment. It's going to be really hard to justify that the longer this game goes, especially when we consider, is still gathering off of these cherries, still, is going to be able to ship cherries again and continue to gather off of natural resources for some time to come. Just the prospect of being on mills at this point in the game, 22 minutes into the game is very, very rough. He has made the transition. His economic unit population is suffering as a result of some of these raids, and I just don't know if he's going to be able to sustain, any sort of army off of the back of this, especially once this fight ends and his economy just isn't nearly as good as Japan's at this point in the game.
I think you're right. And look, the red units aren't going to be doing too good here. There's just so many blue units, and of course Russian units aren't quite as good, despite these upgrades that he says. Mongo10 GG, he knows his army's gone, and then where's blue going to go? Directly on top of these mills, deny the ability to gather from them, and he has then no food. And that is the end of the series, bringing the score up to 4-1 in Aizamk's favour. Thank you very much for watching. Do leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Me and Zuta do appreciate that. We do check all the comments, and we like to see the ratings of the video. We do read all of those. Whether or not we respond to them is... I'll try my best. But again, thanks for watching. And if you're heading off, we'll see you next week. But me and Zuta are now going to do some, I guess, analysis of this game, as always. But I like to get that in there, because I do see a steep drop-off in viewers as of this very moment in the final. Yeah, they're gone.
And they're gone. And we're out.
Those of you still listening are clearly true Zutajection fans. So
the true faithful.
Yep. There is that.
That was a pretty good game, though.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. 22 minutes, Russian Japan mirror, non-standard build orders was pretty fun. It was a pretty good series as well.
Yeah. Do you get to see the treasures, the treasure chain, like the treasures impacting the coin? Yeah. Look at the coin total graph. Look at 5 minutes and 40. That's so ridiculous. And then he just didn't have to gather any coin. Like, he just flatlined on coin. Just didn't gather any until like 7.5 minutes.
Oh, it is true.
Off the backs of those treasures.
Yep. Yeah, you can see it affecting in the early game as well, like before age 2.
Yeah, it's pretty dirty, pretty sick.
I wonder if you can see it on the all resources line. Yeah, you can a little bit as well.
Let's take a look at the all. Why can't there it is? Yeah, you can. It's not as pronounced, right? Because obviously he's still gathering a bunch of food and stuff at that point, but still is somewhat significant.
I wonder if you can see a large score increase from it as well. Yeah, you kind of can. Yeah.
Let me see the score. Where's the score? There it is.
I like to show the graphs anyway. People like to see them. 4
minutes and 42 seconds. Yeah, it's like this little tick here. It's
fun game.
Pretty funny. Yeah, fun game. Fun game. But I think that's going to do it. I don't think I'm going to do the replay. Someone was asking about the replay after this game, and I said, well, if it's a short game, like usually what I do with the replays, and I'll say it again now that you're here, and maybe there are more people, is that usually I keep the replays for like when we have short series. So like if there's like only a 4 or 5 game series, then I'll do a replay, because I like to try and have at least 2 hours of content for people willing to watch the stream. And on days like today where we have several long games, we've had basically like 3 hours of like just straight, fairly long, intense games. Yeah. Then then maybe you don't need a replay, because we've already had plenty of content at this point today. So I'll probably pass on the replay, and we'll just sneak it in next week. So
this will probably be a very long stream. Yeah, do take a look for it, Zoo. I reckon this will be like a 2 hour and 40 minute something. I reckon this one will be.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know. We have had 7. Like, it was almost 7 games. Not quite today.
But all of these games were like pretty long ones as well. Like all of the games were like 20-minute games, pretty much. So 20 or more games. Mm-hmm. But I think that's gonna do it. Do you have any final words to say before I do my last sign off?
Do I have any last words to say? Nope, nothing to think of. Though tomorrow, I suppose at 5 p.m. GMT, I'll be what will I be doing? I'll be commentating a RuneScape Chronicle, which is a new card game that's still in closed beta. I'll be commentating a tournament for that on my channel. So if you want to hear more from me, I think I'll be doing that. Other than that, nothing to say.
All right. Well, that's going to do it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I think I'm going to be casting some tournament replay or tournament games tomorrow starting at 17 GMT. So if you want to tune in for that, it'll be here on this channel. You can find the schedule. I think it's on the splash screen immediately after we turn down the channel. That will be up and you'll be able to see it. So do tune in for that. Of course, that tournament hosted by ESO community.net. Should be a pretty fun set of games. H2O playing at 17 GMT. Don't want to miss that. And it should be fun.
That'll be one to tune in for.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll see you all then. If not, thanks for tuning in for Smackdown, and we'll see you next week. Peace out, boys.
See ya.